Tamer, what a name. All right, so guys, I have been a lazy content creator. I have not been keeping up with the new D&D stuff like at all. So I know like this is way behind. Like we've released a lot of these videos. D&D's been doing, what is it, like over a month ago? And a lot of people have already talked about this, which is, you know, great advice. But I've watched none of it. I'm sure a lot of you guys are more informed than me. But I have pretty mixed feelings on this whole thing to start with. Like, I'm not sure that I even care that a new D&D book is coming out because I'm playing such a homebrewed version of 5e that, like, it's not even the same game. And then there's a bunch of, like, third-party games out there that are pretty interesting and engaging, too, that I might rather learn than this whole new book. So today we're going to see if we can be convinced to actually care about the new D&D. So we're going to watch all of their stuff, all the preview stuff, see if it creates any hype. And I want to know what you guys think, if it's something that like matters to you at all. Because I did a poll. Let's see if I can pull this up. I did a poll on my channel, seeing if people were excited about 5e. And let's... Boom. You can see it here. That, are you excited for the new D&D Player's Handbook? 28% said yes, which for a new D&D thing you think would be much higher. But the rest, 19% no, 43% mixed feelings, and 11% what's that? Like, people don't even know that it's coming out. But that means that close to 75% of people don't even care or are not excited that this is coming out. So, yeah, I mean, I fall into the mixed feelings category. Thanks, my friend Tokyo gave it to me because I told her my daughter was acting like a spawn of Satan. It's fair. All right, so I fall in the mixed feelings category. I don't know if I have the energy to learn a whole new book. And the real part is, how do you convince your whole group to play something different? You know? I'm not sure I can. So I say let's just get into this. Do you guys feel anything? Are you guys excited? Do you want this new book? I mean, also there's like the problem with WOTC being, you know, crazy, sending the Pinkertons, fucking up the OGL, all of that shit. So I don't know where we fall on helping out WOTC. And then, like, I don't know if you guys have seen any of the DC-20 content or the MCDM stuff. Yeah, I saw Kale. I hope that's how you say your name. Kale. I'm terrible at pronouncing names, so get used to that. Yeah, I saw that you said earlier that it's just like more classes, and I think that's going to be great. From the DM's perspective, I think that might suck a little bit because now there's a lot more to hold on to, but of course it depends on your play group. I think my play group is pretty cool where they'll just tell me and I trust that they're going to be honest and what they're doing is not trying to break the game, you know? You got it pronounced right? Hell yeah. So I don't know. Let's get into this. We're gonna watch the very first one, which is everything you need to know from 2024. So hopefully this should clear up most of our problems with it and see how we're feeling. Good. Solid set. All right, just making sure everything's locked in. All right, appreciate you guys sticking with me. Not even technical difficulties, just technical ignorance more so than anything. All right. Let's see what this got.
This is the largest player's handbook the game has ever had. It has been rebuilt from the ground up. It is filled with new options as well as returning options that have been refined, reimagined, rebalanced, and the whole book has also been restructured to aid reference at the table, to make it easier than ever before to create a character, and we have also packed it with enough new options that even people who have been playing this game for a decade will find whole new ways to customize their characters, you know, between the different class features, the subclass options, the new feats, the new equipment options, the new crafting rules, the new spells, the revised spells. You combine all of that, and this is like having the game that you are already playing completely like glowed up.
I worry when he says something like this, that this is the game you're used to playing. There's glowed up. It sounds like it might not be that drastically different. You know, that's like, I guess that's the problem with these like half, like instead of it's a full 6, people are calling it 5.5e because it's the same game just with minor tweaks. And I don't know if that gets me going, if it makes me want to change anything that's going on.
It says it's just top to bottom has been improved.
It's been very distracting for me because I should be doing my work and doing research, but I'm mostly looking at different character builds now, using like weapon mastery or how sneak attack works, because there's a lot of systems in this, but it's very simple at the same time. Like it has a momentum as you're reading it and an excitement.
And that really gets at one of our core goals, which was streamline as much as possible while also trying to make it easier than ever before to engage with the game, while also making it deeper, giving you more ways to imagine your character, more tactical options. We have especially focused when it comes to tactical options on making the weapon experience more rich. So if you're playing a weapon-focused character, you are going to have a level of tactical excitement that your character never had before. You're going to find ways of...
Okay. We'll see. Oh no, I have not watched any of the 24 player handbook videos yet because I'm a bad content creator, way behind. Zerfi, don't know how you got in here, but I'm glad you did, bud. Hopefully you have a good time. Okay, I don't know how much you guys like how heavily you lean in D&D towards combat versus not combat, and I would say our group is probably far more on the story side than the combat side compared to most groups. Like we are definitely, I would say combat happens maybe once every 3 sessions, and it's usually like a very puzzle-centric style of combat. It's not just like straight up fight the bad guy who has a bunch of spells and is difficult to kill. So this talk of like a lot of new tactical stuff, I mean, it's still a turn-based game. I don't know how crazy tactical it can be, in the sense of like, they try to make it seem like it's going to be dynamic. And I'm not convinced. I feel like we even play on our group such a drastic, like homebrewed version where everybody's turn happens at the same time. So everybody's making the same move. So you can have more mistakes as you play. And that makes it go way faster and makes it a lot more dynamic and engaging. So I'm curious to see when they stop using like these fluff words of like, it's going to be tactical, and start talking about the actual technicalities that make it more tactical.
From level to level, evolving how your character plays, because just shifting from using the mastery option of one weapon to using the mastery option of another is going to sometimes subtly change how the game plays for you, and then other times not so subtly. It will be a dramatic shift. Now, people who focus more on the magic end of the spectrum are also going to find, when they dive into this massive spell chapter, over 100 pages long, close to 400 spells, many revised, a number brand new, some returning from books like Xanathar's Guide and Tasha's Cauldron, but even those reimagined. But also they're going to have non-combat options that they didn't have before, ways to enrich their social interaction scenes, their exploration scenes in ways that they couldn't before. And then we did the same with our weapon-focused characters. Again, something that people got to see as a part of the Unearthed Arcana process, that we made sure that classes that before, like say the Barbarian, that were primarily combat-focused, now have ways to contribute outside combat. There was no corner of the game that we did not zero in on as we built this new player's handbook, and as we build the new Dungeon Master's Guide and the new Monster Manual. Every part of the game, whether it relates to the combat pillar, the exploration pillar, or the social interaction pillar, has gotten a fresh coat of paint with new ways to play. And in some cases...
Okay, we're going to play a game. At what time do you think they start giving any specific details instead of just like talking about fluff, you know? Yeah, it does sound like a money grab. Because like, My guess. All right, everybody guess your. I'm gonna guess we don't actually. Okay, creating a new art and covers. Okay, so nothing there. Change to backgrounds. Okay, I don't even think they'll talk about something there. Okay, 22 minutes is my guess. Is when we actually start talking about any details. Oh, Kale, if it's never, this is gonna be devastating. I'm gonna be very hurt. Yeah, because they're talking about a new monster manual, a new DM's guide. Like, I don't know what you could put into a new DM's guide that would be useful. Yeah, I run my games with a rough estimate of 20% exploring. That's good. 50% role playing and 30% fighting. Fighting is just another opportunity to role play for the majority of my career. Yeah, exactly. And like when they talked about like the barbarians can now role play differently. And Clary Fairy also saying never. Yeah, I think that's a good guess as well. Like they can role play differently. It's like they didn't need to role play differently. They've been doing it. Like that's just the thing that you can do. I don't think you need a rule to implement that into the game. It's probably going to be the DM's guide, stuff like that. Got it. Okay. The video is pretty vague with all the stuff they talk about. The individual videos about each class is when the actual go into specifics. Okay. Well, we're gonna ride this out for a while, and if it doesn't change at all, and it doesn't give us any overview, then maybe we just pop over to the other ones.
Prizes that people didn't even get to see as a part of the Unearthed Arcana process. Great example of that in the Player's Handbook are the brand new crafting rules.
There were always moments in the last 10 years.
Okay, crafting rules is interesting because my players have asked for that, and I found I just have to make my own system, and that seems like a shit ton of work that I don't want to do. So if they actually can create a good crafting system or even a better weapon system, that might be worth it. That's one thing I might actually be excited for.
Years of playing the game, you sometimes would find a moment, I wish I could do this, or I could wish there was a rule for that. Well, now there is. Like, if I wanted to use my sneak attack to knock out a target rather than kill them, that's there now. Like, as a barbarian, if I want to feel like I'm channeling something primal in myself and maybe use my strength score to actually inform like perception or stealth, there's a moment where you can do that, and that's why I'm so obsessed with making new combos. What's the most exciting thing for you, Chris?
It's hard to nail down. There's a lot of things. I love how information has been reorganized in the book so I can find things easier. The rules glossary, I think, is going to be a huge...
Reorganizing the information shouldn't cost $40. Okay.
Huge boon to a lot of players, having a centralized place where all the rules are very clearly and concisely defined. But on a more selfish level, I am delighted by the weapon mastery properties. Jeremy and I were in a game recently where I was playing a fighter, but we were playing basically 2014 characters, and having play tested the weapon mastery stuff for the better part of a year now, it was a bit of a shock to go back to a fighter that didn't have that. And I think a lot of players who like hitting things with weapons are going to be as delighted as I have been. I feel playing a fighter without it now rather naked.
Are we just going to power creep? Is that the other way? Like the classic Magic the Gathering style of just each new time we come out with a new class will just be a significant power creep, so then you would feel bad as a player that your ranger from the 2014 book is now like not viable because everybody else is doing something better. I don't like that so far.
And exposed.
But it is like a remarkable feeling.
Yeah.
Like you have, it not only drives like I'm swinging a sword, but I'm also doing this. Like maybe I'm using this weapon, maybe I'm knocking you back. Maybe I missed and I'm still grazing you and doing damage. And you're making now choices that make those weapons important. Like if you're using a scimitar, a dagger, if you're using a heavy crossbow, there's an advantage to it. It has a tactic to it. I can't imagine martial classes without this now.
Yeah, I think one of the amazing things about this opportunity to revise the books is we can do more wish fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we're building on a system that is sound and tried and true and that people love. We can now take 10 years of feedback of, oh, I wish the game did this, or I wish this class did that, and deliver on those wishes.
It also means that with the core rule,
I'm so conflicted because, in a sense, it has been 10 years since we got any new updates. So, like, I want to like this so bad. I keep on having moments of like, ooh, that might be interesting. But I'm just, it just feels like nothing's happening. Yeah, the power creep is crazy. Okay, old classes are not strong by comparison. Yeah. So, because I've heard someone say, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that previous edition, they're saying, like, you can play from both books. Like, nothing will change. You can play from 5e or 5.5e. But you just wouldn't, it would feel so bad to have someone doing so much better than you.
Rules in the book, so, you know, in addition to all the fun character options and whatnot, well, the rules themselves that run the game have also been enhanced, where we were able to take things that maybe have been house rules for people over the past 10 years and make them a core part of the game. Great example of this. Many people over the last 10 years have allowed people to drink potions as a bonus action, feeling it was way too punishing running the rules as they were written in 2014 to have to spend your entire action drinking a potion. Particularly scary if you're dying and you're drinking that healing potion. And so people are going to find that now healing potions take a bonus action to drink. And there are shifts like that.
There is cheering happening right now while this video is playing.
Yeah. And
Are we about to just play, like, is this book just going to be the thing that has been like the universal home rules? Because, like, then they didn't have to do any of the work. It's done for them. Everybody's already homebrewed the shit out of this.
There are shifts like that everywhere you look in the rules, that it will feel like the game you've been playing, but everywhere you look, enhanced.
As you are looking through the player's handbook, as you're making your character, there's such intentional design behind everything, every piece of art, the layout. I can flip through this book and in seconds know where I am.
All of those choices were very intentionally made. Often with our books, what we typically do, we will write and then we will sort of later in the process begin working with the book's art director to come up with how the book is going to look. In this case, the art directors, Emmy Tanji and Josh Herman, were a part of the conceptualization of the book from the very beginning.
The text and art has just completely gone hand in hand throughout this whole process.
Good to see that 2024 Rangers are always getting shit on. Good to see that they're at least keeping consistent with what we should be doing, which is always shitting on Rangers. And to be fair, Ranger is one of my favorite classes because I just liked it. It was the first class I ever made. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Process. The art style hasn't changed because we still have a lot of amazing returning D&D artists come back to join us in this adventure. They have such a wonderful sense to bring in their own experiences and their own takes on our art orders. So I mean, like, we truly did do it with intention, but we can't take all the credit because it's also the partners we work with that take it, you know, beyond into the next level.
There's a lot of stuff that went into the...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the new book does clarify. It does feel like it's rule stickler stuff. I mean, I'm sure some people get really bent out of shape. Our group does not. Our group is super low key when it comes to that. Tasha Rangers did help a lot. And oh, dude, yeah, how many people are going to be so upset that their class is just gutted? You know, like, I feel like that's got to be the biggest fear of being like, oh shit, my one thing that I loved is now just completely trash.
The covers, we kind of wanted to approach them all up as a set. So working
good to see
with
Rogues
Tyler
are still
Jacobson
Rogues.
across all three was a really great experience because he had also done the covers before. So at least he had done the Player's Handbook and he had done the Dungeon Master's Guide in 2014. So we got a chance to kind of reapproach them with a different perspective and what we wanted to do and try to figure out what that was. And we definitely referenced second edition, you know, and Easley Elmore, you know, that sort of original D&D artwork. We wanted to kind of bring back some of that flavor, especially in the shape language and the colors and sort of just the compositions, and to kind of evoke a little bit of that classic fantasy vibe, right? So hopefully all three of the covers kind of give you a little bit of that.
And for the new Player's Handbook, the art we have here, these are some famous D&D heroes. And you've got the Gold Dragon, and you've got the Red Dragon below, and the most vicious-looking kobolds I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Probably in D&D.
Yeah.
But there's like, it's a moment. It is a moment in time. And that's something we've talked about before with all the art that is in the new player's handbook, is it always feels like almost like a photo.
Yes.
In a moment of an adventure, whether it's right before something happens or the apex of something happening, but it feels like a day in the life of an adventurer.
And that's intentional, right? We wanted to provide storytelling in all of these images. We wanted to give you, the players, the fans, somebody that, an image, like you said, that is a snapshot in time, but ideally we try to focus that snapshot in time right before an event has happened or right after an event has happened. Like you said, the gold dragon and the red dragon and sort of this party in the middle and the kobolds coming from the side, and what is going to happen, who's going to win, right? You know, same thing if you look at like the monster manual, like very much in the thick of it, but right before the real action happens, right? Like almost like at the end of round 1 in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the rest of the fight going to be? The person that gets picked up by the tentacle is your unlucky party member for sure. Probably happens to them every game all the time. And then on the DMG, you've got sort of we very much also reference previous editions with the cover of the door being opened. Right. So what does it look like inside of the door? What could that DM be prepping you for? What is that set case or that show piece that you're going to be facing? So with the DMG cover, you've got, you know, sort of your multiple casts of characters, all the way from your grunts down to your skeletons to Venger, sort of your campaign level villain, or
Those are sick.
Warduke and sort of like almost a henchman mini boss of a campaign, right? And then you've got a looming threat in the back. So something that has a lot to look at that you can pull a lot of storytelling out of, hopefully, was very intentional for all 3 of these.
There was so much planning that went ahead before these subclasses art, because there's 48 of them.
Yeah.
And Josh Herman and I, we just both worked on this giant matrix of like the characters. Okay, you know, like, are we covering our tieflings? Are we covering our halflings? You know, like, make sure that we just have a wide variety of characters we want to show, because 48, that's pretty spectacular, you know. And then to also make sure they complemented the classes as well. So some that leaned into the tropes, and others that kind of were a nice, unique new spin. An example of how I hope this art will inspire others is that I've never wanted to really play a spellcaster. I'm like, it's too hard. It's just so much you have to manage, and I'm sure it's not. But then I saw some of the warlocks, like, holy moly, you know, like the wizards. I'm like, okay, I would absolutely jump into playing a character like that. And I'm hoping that's what this art will do to inspire some of our players.
I've always loved D&D's art. I mean, same with Wizard of the Coast for like Magic: The Gathering. Are they using any AI art for this? I really hope not, because I know they did for some of the other books, and it was just horrific. It was like so jarring. So hopefully this is all like original, actual artist art.
We mapped out not only the subjects we wanted portrayed in the art, but the style of the art in each chapter. And so that's why when you look at the character creation chapter, there's line art, because we wanted you to have this sense of when you're making a character, you're like almost writing with pencil. And many of us, when we're making a character, will change our minds a bunch of times, you know, whether we're making the character on D&D Beyond or you know, typing it on our laptop or writing it with paper and pencil. We'll think, we'll change, we'll go back. And so we wanted the art itself to subtly point at that process, which is why in that chapter you have the line art. But then when you get to your class chapter, where you're making the most important choice for your character's class, you are just dazzled by full-page pieces of art for every class, by key pieces of art for every single subclass. Then it keeps going in terms of the beauty when you then get to the character origins chapter and you see the different backgrounds available to your character.
And they're literally backgrounds.
They're literally backgrounds.
I love that the most, because you're not interjecting a character to describe hey, this is what Charlatan looks like. You're just giving, like, this is the green screen background that your character will be inserted into.
Yes.
Right?
But also, more than that, the backgrounds themselves have all been redesigned, and the entire background system has been reimagined as one half of your character's origin, the other half being your character's species, and the two together interlock to give you a view of who your character was before they became an adventurer.
And
but
it's very intentional because you get a feat based off your background.
Oh, wow.
And skills on top of that. And that free feat really informs, like, well, of course, I would have this feat starting off because...
I don't know how I feel about this. Like, it's good that they're trying to like implement backgrounds more significantly into this. Because I don't think I ever used backgrounds when I made characters. Like, I know you're supposed to, but I just said fuck it because we would just make our own. So like, I know you have like folk hero and you get certain things out of this. So I do like that you get to use, like, you get to pick one of these things and it makes it more dynamic to customize traits. But I don't think anybody would actually follow it for their character background, right? Like, let's say you pick folk hero and it gets this specific trait that makes your character better, but like, I still would just make my background that probably isn't a folk hero background, right? I mean, do you guys use backgrounds? Am I in the minority on that one? Okay, so they did use AI art in the old books, but hopefully none in this. Shady business model, filling a book with AI art, then charging so much money. Seriously. A lot of people would homebrew that stuff already. My first GM had us choose a feat that matched our backstory back when I was first learning. Oh, see, that's a genius idea. That's the way to do it. Yeah, they are moving physical stuff into races and learned stuff into backgrounds. We don't use backgrounds. Right, okay, great. I didn't even know you were supposed to use backgrounds. Right, dude, it's one of those things I just leave out when new players start getting into it because it seems so irrelevant, like storytelling wise. But now it's going to definitely be more of a part of it. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Maybe I think it's just like it just doesn't matter. Okay, good. I feel much better now about feeling like it was irrelevant. Yeah, too irrelevant. Perfect. All right, great.
This is the background I come from. That makes perfect sense. I just like how that's tied together. And that also informs the ability scores.
Yes, and I know we'll be digging deeper into character origins in one of our other videos. But one of the major changes for backgrounds is exactly that they now give you an ability score bonus, or rather set of bonuses. And this is actually going to be new even for people who were part of the Unearthed Arcana process, because in the final version of the backgrounds, each background now lists 3 ability scores. And if you select that background, you then choose how you want to distribute your bonus there. So you can either have +2 in one of them and +1 in another, or you can have +1 in all 3 of them. And so you have a tremendous amount of flexibility to pair different backgrounds with different classes, because what we wanted to do is make it so that the backgrounds were as flexible as possible to support as many different character concepts as possible.
How have you...
Okay, I like the flexibility. I think the flexibility is a good idea because I think it's also something that people are doing anyways. So why restrict it? There's no reason to put limitations on a game of make-believe, you know? As long as everything can stay balanced. I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of ignorance here because our group doesn't try to break the game, but I think it allows you to just create the backstory you want to have and then apply it and then make the stats make sense. Like the variable human race is perfect. I love using that one. Nader Tot, for me, backgrounds were always a way to help people come up with backstories. Right, yeah, it was just like a template. If someone was struggling and didn't know what to do, this is what they would do. Like it gave them a list of good backstory ideas to start off with. And no min-maxers, I wouldn't say non-min-maxers. Like, I feel like there's a different kinds of categories of min-maxers, right? There's like the people who are just trying to optimize and make sure that they're like, this stat is the best for me and this is going to make it so I'm the best. But then there's also the min-maxers that are like purposely trying to break the game and take like the specific feats that just like are for sure just going to blow the game open, and they're doing, you know, hundreds of damage super early on. We don't have that kind. We have the people who are just optimizing, but yeah, no serious min-maxers. Clary Fairy, no, I don't usually use backgrounds, just homebrew backgrounds. Once from your backstory cheat sheet, which was been, oh yeah, I appreciate you checking out my cheat sheet. Hopefully that was work. So yeah, so no polearm bugbear fighters. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like no one's finding their list online and then like making that character and trying to insert it in the game. I feel like we're very story focused. You know, so people are more trying to have fun with that than like, you know, win in combat. But again, that's more of our style, which is like another element I think which makes this feeling of, do I care about a new book, more complicated, because everybody plays so drastically different, right? And our group has already kind of found its niche and where it wants to fit in and how it has fun. So I don't know if this adds anything to it. You know, it does give people new options, so maybe that's the fun part of it. But I don't know. Bugbear limbs don't work with opportunity attacks. Hilarious. All right. All right.
Meddled with the player's handbook. I don't think, what's a nicer way to I was like, what'd you do on the player's handbook?
Well, let's see. Jeremy and I were in the room hashing out the outline for the book.
Yep.
Yeah.
With our good friend and former boss Ray Winninger early on. So I had a hand in sort of sculpting the shape of the book, with Jeremy leading that work, of course. And then I injected myself at various points everywhere I could, creating new spells for the spells chapter, rewriting text from the 2014 book to make it suitable for the 2024 revision.
All three of the books we mapped out, Chris, Ray, and I, we mapped out together. And
are these all coming
out
at the same time?
See when all three books are out is that intentionality that you talked about, Todd, that we not only carefully plotted out the player's handbook that you've now seen, but also very carefully plotted out the Dungeon Master's Guide and very carefully plotted out the Monster Manual and plotted out how the three books integrate with each other. And so in many ways, we view the three books as one massive book that's simply too big to publish as a single volume because it would be about 1,000 pages long.
And that speaks again to the intention of design on all of this. It is remarkable to see how these are all interconnected. I mean,
this literally feels like they put this in just to be like, you're gonna want all three. You can't just have one, and so they're just trying to triple the sales. Like, who's confused by this?
Amazing day because this is the first day you can pre-order all three books. What I've seen of the DMG is so much friendlier to a new Dungeon Master. What I've heard is so exciting, and everything I've heard about the Monster Manual.
Who's learning to Dungeon Master through the DMG? I think now it's almost entirely on YouTube, right? Like, you go and you either watch games, like you watch Critical Role or Dimension 20, you get an idea, and then you go through and you just like watch. I mean, I can't remember if I've even read. I think I've skimmed through the DMG, and that was years ago. But I don't think I used it all. I mean, do you guys use the DMG?
And it does feel like this is one cohesive project in a way that we haven't seen before.
It's so cohesive that there is essentially a piece of the Monster Manual in the player's handbook.
Right.
We were able to coordinate the work in a way that we had never done before, where that was essentially Monster Manual work we were doing as a part of our player's handbook work, building the creature appendix that is in this player's handbook. The new creature appendix is even bigger than the one that was in the 2014 PH. The creatures have been carefully selected to be in the player's handbook. So, great example of this intentionality. Now, when you go to the equipment chapter and you see a list of available mounts, well, every one of those mounts now has a stat block in the same book. And similarly, when it comes to your familiar options, if you cast Find Familiar, or if you're a warlock with your enhanced familiar options, all those options are present. We also made sure that druids had a really good starting selection of creatures that they could transform into using wild shape. Now, our friends who use the Circle of the Moon subclass, they're still going to need to visit the Monster Manual eventually when they get high enough level, because we simply did not have enough pages in the player's handbook to have all the beasts that Circle of the Moon Druid might want available. But even for them, we have a nice selection of beast options so that you can start playing with your main features
I feel like
in this book.
you just do whatever you
using
want and then add the stats
content
you
that is
need.
all inside this very book.
Yeah.
Yeah, for my first time I fudged all the rules. Yeah, I still do that. I feel like I roll a percentile dice for almost everything. I just want to randomize. Like whenever some complicated situation rolls up, I just like, okay, you'll have to beat this percentage and then do this and you'll have to beat this percentage. And that's like still, I think, the best way to play this game. Not Batarata. Hopefully I said that right. We're calling you not. I tried and it was a lot. Yeah, right. And then you end up on YouTube, of course. Brandon S. saying no, agreed. I've read all the pages of all the D&D books. Wow. Good on you, dude. I have so many D&D books that I haven't even touched. Like, they've collected dust. I like having them. They make me feel good, but I have not read through all of them. I learned, old Geek and Sundry videos. Absolutely. Before Critical Role split off. Yeah, it doesn't really help you. It's like very baseline general advice. It doesn't really get into the niche things. And again, that's why YouTube's helpful. There's so many videos. Do with players' questions and stuff. I tell my new players, you see these books, this is not D&D, this is a jump off point. That is exactly it, right? Like this is just where we're starting. And then everything else is just, we're going to figure it out together. Okay, that's a good way to put it.
And because we have 10 years of feedback on the 2014 books, we also knew that we were going to be making some adjustments to our stat block format.
Yes.
To make our stat blocks even easier to run and more fun to run. But that work is...
Do they start this book and go like, okay, what can we actually change? What can we change that will have some kind of small impact? Because I feel like all of the things they're talking about is just like reorganizing information.
Is not confined only to the monster manual, going back to the idea that this is a 1,000+ page book.
Yeah, there's so many good D&D videos out there, dude. There's this channel, No Dice D&D. You guys should check it out. Like, it's got a lot of really like good stuff. If you like that kind of thing. No, I would say I have bad niche advice videos. There's so many better people making D&D like advice stuff. You gotta check out those guys. My stuff, if you're looking for some fun character development stuff, but like Matthew Koval, going through that stuff is great. And Nader, you're right. A lot of people get hung up as rules is written. You shouldn't. Like, we just played with someone brand new last week, and I was like, here's all the rules. I can tell you them if you want, but don't worry about it. Just say what you want to do, and we're going to work through it together, and it's going to be fine. Because once you start explaining the rules, you can see people's eyes literally just glaze over, and they can't handle it anymore. They're done, and that's how I felt. It's just too much information. So you just got to do it from like osmosis of watching other people do it and being like, oh, I'm starting to get the details of it.
Broken up into 3 pieces. That stat block revision work impacts all 3 books.
And you'll see that not only in the creature appendix, but also in the Ranger Beastmaster subclass, where that subclass has been completely redesigned, largely inspired by work we did in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, but even going beyond what we did in Tasha's. The stat blocks for that Ranger's friends have been redesigned. All of the stat blocks that appear in the new summoning spells that are in the book have been redesigned, all with this view toward making our stat blocks easier to use, and also really getting under the hood of every stat block and making sure that the creature is delivering the goods when it comes to the damage it deals, its resilience, and also its fun.
You mentioned summoning spells, and again, like what I love.
Yeah, the rulebooks are so intimidating, especially for new players after character creation. It just takes so long to make a character. Like, that's part of why it's so fun. Like, I love just making characters. But yeah, then you say, okay, now that you've gone through all of this reading, time to start understanding the basics of the rules. I still play with people who don't know the rules, and that's fine. We're able to work through it and like have fun. They don't need to know the rules because they're just fun to be around. You know what I mean? Hey, Darkness, thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it.
Love about the new player's handbook is everything you need is in the new player's handbook. Like if you want to wild shape, if you want to summon a familiar, but the summoning spells have various options of the type of that creature that you want to use. So if it's an aberration, if it's undead, if it's a fiend, you're not just having to select this one type of stat block creature, you have a variety of options. So if you love summoning and you like to be tactical, it's just layers of options with one singular spell, and you have all the stats you need to just run it. You don't need to grab another book and go hunt something down. It's all in the player's handbook.
And
Yeah, that's where it should be. It should all be in the player's handbook. These are like such basic points. Why are we harping on this so hard? And they're like, this is the first video that are supposed to get people excited about this book. And we're 21 minutes in. I feel like I haven't heard anything. And they're like, everything's going to be in there. And we redid the stat blocks. It's so disappointing. I want to be excited, but there's nothing to be excited about. And yeah, I am with you. I do like the art that I've seen, but I'm not in love with it like some of the other ones. It hasn't really, really kicked in. I don't run any games online. I am considering it, like setting up like a Patreon or something so that we can get like small groups together to play. We'll see. More to be revealed. And then a couple of weeks ago, one of my players said the words bonus action. I audibly gasped. Dude, that is such a good feeling. Ooh, when they get the basics down. It's the first time, it's always for me, is when someone goes like attack roll, they grab the D20 and then they grab their damage dice and they know to do it without having to be like, no, you first got to do that. When they do that, then I'm like, oh, they've made it. They've leveled up. Very, very relatable.
that was something that people loved when we first introduced it in Tasha's Cauldron. And so we were excited to be able to take that approach to summoning and incorporate it into the game's core. But even people who are familiar with those spells in Tasha's will have some fun surprises because all of those spells have been enhanced for the player's handbook. And so they, like everything else, are glowed up. And we even have other parts of the book where options that maybe first appeared in Tasha's Cauldron now appear here and have been enhanced. Great example, the Soul Knife in the Rogue, the Psi Warrior in the Fighter, Aberrant Sorcery in the Sorcerer. I bring up
all my psionic boys.
Yes, all a part of our desire to bring more psionics into the core game.
Yeah.
This was actually something that we talked about doing over a decade ago in the 2014 Player's Handbook, and we frankly just didn't have time to do it over a decade ago. And so we thought, now we have the time. And I like to think of it as the great old one Warlock now having their friends show up, so we can you can now have your full
party.
your full psionic crew. Whereas before in 2014, the great old one Warlock was wondering where all their psionic buddies were, and they've now all shown up for the party.
The gray old one is nasty now.
In
gray
all
old
the
one
best
is new
ways.
and super nasty. It gets in your head literally to have some nice advantages.
Okay, they speak very slowly and generically about the changes in the vids. On D&D Beyond, they have a post for each class and some other things, I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely considering going to that, because this is just... I mean, I'm past when I thought that we were going to actually start talking about the details, and we're just talking about general psionics. I mean, it sounds like they're also just pulling a lot of stuff and starting to implement, like, from Tasha's Cauldron and the other, like, side books and putting it into the piece of this. I mean, honestly, that might have been a better update, is just to, like, put all of the content into one accessible book instead of having to, like, look through all the different... Like, being able to see all of the rogue subclasses in one book would be so nice. We're going to stick out just a little longer, but yeah, Kale, I might go look at D&D Beyond and see if we can find some of the actual written stuff.
Is in combat.
Yes.
There are significant, lovely changes to so many of these subclasses that just amp them up to more what you wanted to do, more what the kind of core concept was.
You're right. How
Again,
would we make money?
The Feywild patron for the Warlock, you are just teleporting everywhere. You are just bouncing, and with every time you do use Misty Step, there's a new added-on effect. It just feels like you've made a pact with a Fey creature. Like, it makes narrative sense. And it gets me excited for, like, the tactical things I can do with all these subclasses, because I feel like there might have been gaps before in the 2014 versions, and now those have been filled in.
Brandon, you bring up a good point of how would you make money? Like, open source content would be a shame. And that I do have this conflicted feeling about this, where D&D and TTRPGs have gotten so big because we do have this, like, unfortunately, we have this corporation who's pushing it, right? Like, with Wizard of the Coast and everything. And the fact that they're trying to make money and it's not as successful as they want it to makes it really difficult for this game to keep, like, growing and becoming popular, which feels really bad to say. And especially with the direction, like, I'm sure you guys have kind of seen how they're slowly trying to go more online, more VTT, you know, going microtransactions and skins, and hopefully that's got to be their long-term plan, right? That feels bad, but also on the other hand, like, if everything was open source, I don't know how big this would be, because, like, I feels like you do need some centralized thing to push, like, content out to a bunch of people. But maybe that's wrong. Maybe YouTubers and third party would be able to just push this completely entirely. Yeah, like things like Gen Con, or like the conventions, maybe those could also keep pushing it, but I don't know how much of those would happen if there wasn't a Wizard of the Coast. I would love, I mean, it's almost open source content, right? Like, you can just get all the PDFs. Dude, I don't know. I feel like I both want, and I want Wizard of the Coast to fail and succeed, if that makes sense.
For that wish fulfillment that we all have.
The Archfey Patron Warlock is a great example of a subclass that didn't just get tweaked. It's basically a new subclass.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this book has 3 brand new subclasses that have never appeared in a D&D book before.
They have 3 brand new subclasses that has never. That's what the book's supposed to be, man. Yeah, it's hard to sell TTRPG because most folks don't recognize. Right, it's like the Kleenex tissue problem. And, like, you know, as a content creator, for when I first started making shorts, I was playing Dungeon World, which is like the powered by the Apocalypse system. You know, it's 2d6, and you know, it's a very simple system. But I still had to make, like, D&D content for people to see it. Like, you have to staple D&D on the name, or just, like, the algorithm won't treat it well. So it's tough. I want you to suffer a minor career speed bump and ultimately grow from it. Well, okay, what is that a reference to? Yeah, also it's easy SEO. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, like, I would say most of the content creators who say D&D are just talking about, like, generic TTRPGs, but D&D is the way to say generic TTRPGs. Like, even when we were playing Dungeon World, we still said, are we playing D&D tonight? You know, like, it's so ingrained into the core of the system.
We have the Circle of the Sea in the Druid, we have the College of Dance in the Bard, and the Path of the World Tree in the Barbarian.
Oh, Jessica
but
Day, yeah.
Again, just as the Archfey Patron Warlock has been so redesigned that it's essentially a new subclass, there are other subclasses like that as well. The Warrior of the Elements in the Monk has been so heavily reimagined, it's essentially a brand new subclass. The Beastmaster in the Ranger, essentially a brand new subclass. And when we do videos on individual classes, we can dig deeper in other subclasses like them that are essentially brand new. And then we have other subclasses.
They're so scared to do new things. This is like such an in-between of, like, this is new but not that new. It's close. It's completely different, but very much the same.
That are going to feel very familiar to people, while at the same time having brand new options inside them.
And again, remember that, like, Weapon Mastery has left no class that uses Weapon Mastery untouched. Like, that has changed the game.
Yes.
If you're a paladin, if you're a ranger, a barbarian, a rogue, a fighter, the game is different now.
Absolutely. Every single class that is weapon focused, your play experience is going to be different now and more fun and more tactically interesting because of Weapon Mastery. Weapon Mastery is so juicy that through feats, we've also made it so that even if you're a member of a class who doesn't get it, You can take a feat to dip your toe into the weapon mastery pool. Just as we've always had a feat that allows non-spellcasters, the Magic Initiate feat, to get a little bit of that spellcasting flavor.
I feel like the feats have also focused more on that wish fulfillment of, there's like the Skulker feat, and that has changed, where you really feel like, okay, now I can like attack in combat and not necessarily reveal myself. There's new features that make you feel like this feat, how I feel it should play, is playing that way now.
And there are way more feats.
There are a lot of feats.
But this book has 75 feats in it.
Yeah.
And it includes not only a suite of feats that are for first level characters that they get through their backgrounds, but we also now have epic boon feats that unlock for you when you reach level 19. And then between those epic feats and your what are called origin feats that you get at first level, you have many of the feats that were available to you before in the 2014 Player's Handbook, along with a number of new feats, some of which have migrated into the Player's Handbook from Tasha's Cauldron, and then have been enhanced in a variety of ways. We also have some things in the game that previously existed inside class features. So a great example of this are the fighting styles.
Right.
That shared tech has now migrated out of the classes into the feat system. And in addition to that, now in that category, for example, in the fighting style category, there are also now more options than there were in 2014.
All of this was done in
I feel like you can have your cake and eat it too if you care about your player's wallet instead of exploiting it. I'm fine with dropping a few hundred on content that is updated and polished routinely. Yeah, I just want things that make my life easier, right? I think saving me time is fine to do that. I love D&D, but nowadays it's the only TTRPG to get noticed. Yeah, the hobbyist, that's exactly right. I mean, I feel like there's never been more games out. Like, so many things just got released, right? DC-20, Shadow Dark, MCDM, all of these other ones, and I'm excited to try them. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get my group to play them. Like, what do you guys? Is everybody here play D&D? Is it like 5e? Is that the most common thing you play? Nader Todd, you'll notice that a lot of the new stuff they're advertising is in the new books. It is stuff from Tasha's and Popular. Oh, great. That's awesome. Oh, great. Stuff that's already out. So that's so good. I love that so much. I literally can't believe that. Like, either make a new book entirely or just, like, we don't need this. So again, yes, it's a cash grab. I know. Facts. You can hate on D&D all you want, but its popularity makes it really nice for finding players and other people who enjoy the hobby. That is so true. And I was just talking to one of my friends about this, that the reason why I think a lot of people don't branch out to play other games is because there's such a huge learning curve in, like, reading all the rules, making sure you feel comfortable and understand what's going on to then get to the game. That, like, if someone's like, I want to play, DC-20 this weekend, and I want to play, 5e, which I think most people have already, like, got into, or then they're like, I want to play MCDM. That's so many things you have to read to kind of be somewhat, like, relevant and know what's going on. So if you get someone to get into 5e, they know that's, like, a good investment of their time because they're going to play with other people, and they can find other people who play 5e. It's, like, inevitable. So the idea of this new book coming out, like the 5.5e, maybe since it's so similar, people will still feel that way, and it won't be a problem, right? But it won't be a problem because they are still connected, and it's just, like, class changes, and everybody can, like, learn a new class, and that's quick. So, but the core rules are basically the same. So maybe that's why people will transition to this easily, and it won't really divide the parties between 5e and 5.5e. But that happens with other things, like with again, Shadow Dark or something. Like, I would love to play Shadow Dark. I haven't played Shadow Dark because it's just such an investment of time, and I haven't committed to the idea of doing that. It's just too much, I'm already spending so much time prepping for my campaign now that I don't want to have to learn the rules and then spend that time prepping for the campaign now because the gratifying thing for me is the storytelling, is the writing, the setting, and all of that stuff, not the details and the rules. So once we found a system that works, why would we change? You know, I feel like that's kind of like the hard problem of this. It seems like everybody, is playing D&Ds. That's their main game, the D&D dilemma. You stick with the brand you know, and is the most popular. Right, it's kind of like a winner-take-all kind of scenario. Claire Ferry, yes, also yes to F5E. Yeah, so I don't know how we get out of like the monopoly of D&D. I don't know, and I don't even know if it's like a good thing or a bad thing for that to happen.
In consultation with the community through Unearthed Arcana articles, those articles helped inform us about how far could we go with the design. You know, how far was too far, how far was just right. And a lot of time and energy was spent by Jeremy and others poring over the information that the community was giving us, the feedback that they were giving us on the subclasses, on the feats. I think that there were times when we even, I think, pushed even farther than the fans really wanted to go, but they helped rein us in a little bit. What came out the other end, I think, is going to just surprise and delight people. And for people who have been invested in UA and paying very close attention to what's going on, they're still going to be surprised because some of the feedback they gave us led us down interesting, fun paths. And
like what?
They're also going to see, oh, these guys actually, they took the feedback that I gave them and they made it better. And this is going to so amp up my game.
And so.
Yes, so we took a lot of this feedback and then we implemented it, and it looks a little bit like good things that you like, and we took away the bad things that you don't like. And I'm saying a lot of nothing and just saying fluff, but I won't give you details. This is a general interview. Maxwell, hi, never seen your live stream before, but you're my favorite D&D content creator. Maxwell, that's so nice. Thank you so much. Honestly, you don't know how nice that is, because I never get to interact with the audience. This is my first live stream, so it's really nice that you said that, man. That means a lot. I'm just making content in a bubble, and then it just goes out to the ether, and then I don't know what happens. So thanks for saying that. Nader Todd, well, after the OGL issue, a lot of the community did branch out, which was sick. It was really cool, and I feel like more people are playing now than ever. I just feel like it's even after all of this crazy shit that happened with the OGL, we're kind of just like back to D&D because, again, it's still, we're all lazy. We're not actually, it's easier to just go play 5e because we've already all kind of established that. We're going to go see go play the game we're used to playing, words, lol. Yeah, it's just words. Everything has just been words. Ari and all, congrats on the first live stream. Didn't notice. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking in. I appreciate you guys swinging by. Hopefully, not too many technical issues. I look forward to seeing more. Good luck, homie. Oh, I appreciate that, dude. Guys, you're too sweet. I appreciate you so much. Trimmer Vision. Oh, hell yeah, man. Thank you so much. Holy fuck. I didn't think anybody would donate. This is awesome. I just feel like the price of the digital and physical combo pack is too high. There should be more of a discount for getting 2 of the same thing. Dude, absolutely. It is crazy that I have to buy the book and then go and buy it on D&D Beyond. That doesn't make any sense. If you buy the book, there should be like a digital format that you just get it free for the digital copy. It's crazy. It is absolutely nuts that that's what they're doing. Like, I know they're just being scumbags and they're just trying to get everything they can out of it, but like, come on, man. To buy the same thing twice feels so bad. Like, that's why I don't own any of the stuff on D&D Beyond, because I just have the physical books, and I want to have the physical books. I like having the physical copies. I like playing at the table that way, but it makes it really hard when people want to try and like make new characters, and a lot of my players make it on D&D Beyond, right? Because that's the easiest way, and now they're not being able to do it because I don't have the access to that, so they're stuck to like the base subclasses. It's nuts. So Trimmer, thank you so much for the donation, and yeah, you're absolutely right. Tim, appreciate you, man. So much love. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for swinging in. This feels like such a cash grab. I'm surprised this is missing a battle pass. Honestly, dude. And you know what? It's coming. It's just not yet. They don't have the VTT. I don't think they have the support set up for it. But it's something of the equivalent of like, you don't own any of these books, but you get to pay a monthly subscription. I mean, as D&D Beyond does, but I think even more, like to have the content, to have the access to like Waterdeep Dragon Heist or whatever the new one is, they're going to just do that. You just have to keep on paying for it, like to have access to it, instead of just being able to buy the book and own it. I also like the physical books more. It's just a better feeling with them. Yeah, it feels like D&D for me is such an in-person game and such a physical game. So being able to actually flip through the pages and like have it at the table and like, you know, write out my physical character, that really works for me. And then Nader I think Paizo, the creators of Pathfinder, have a deal where if you buy a physical book, you get a discount or on the PDF, which is how it should be done. Yeah. I mean, I still don't even think that's far enough, but again, it's a business. They're trying to make money. It's a difficult game. So yeah, of course I get a pass, but at least the discount. No discount is nuts. For real, it's like reading a book from your phone versus just having the paper. It's so much more immersive. Exactly. 100% there. All right, let's hear more of their nothing words. Please, guys, just say, this is so easy. Just be genuine. You made this thing. I know they have to be excited about this stuff. Just say what they feel, you know? Like, they just have to... They've been working on this for so long, they just have to show that they actually care about what they're doing. And it's weird that they're like doing all this corporate speak. Like, I don't know who's advising them to do it this way, but this is nuts. Also, they removed so many class identities and took such a lazy approach instead of fixing things and turning them into spells or feats. Yeah, that makes sense. So I also like the physical books more. I already have like 5 or 6 of them. Yeah, dude, yeah. I have a stack, and I haven't read most of my books because they're textbooks. They're so big, but I have so many of them, and I'm going to keep getting them, you know? All right. Boys, you can do this.
Those shifts that we made based on the invaluable feedback that the community provided are really going to result in that surprise you're talking about, Chris. Like, for example, in the Unearthed Arcana process, we tried several different approaches to inspiration and how that rule works. Well, the version that's in the player's handbook never appeared in any of the Unearthed Arcana articles, but it was inspired by feedback that we received, because and it is now called heroic inspiration. Right. Rather than dealing with advantage, which is what inspiration did in 2014, we realized this rule needs to play better with the rest of the game. And the game is already chock full of ways to get advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the final version of it is now a reroll. So not advantage, but is a reroll that the player can apply to any roll, not just D20 rolls. Because what we realized is we also wanted you to be happy you have this, even when, let's say, you're rolling the amount of hit points you restore to somebody with a healing spell.
Okay, I do like that. That's cool.
Damage, but
that's a good homebrew thing.
Randomly roll a die for some mysterious reason, like DMs sometimes do. We want players to have this little ace in their pocket of, all right, I always know if I have heroic inspiration, if I roll really bad, no matter what the die roll is, I can use it and re-roll and hope I get something better.
Okay, I do like that. I like, but again, of course, that could just be some homebrewed stuff, but I do like that a lot because I've been thinking of how to make weapons scale, like slowly, because we're trying to make it so you can get like better weapons as the game goes on. But you only have so many dice, so it's like, and you can only +2, +3, that doesn't feel good. So what we've done is like, you get advantage on damage rolls. So like, you know, you roll your D8, but you get to roll 2 and pick the higher one, and that's your better damage. And I like this of like, you get the option to re-roll as like a middle ground between like a normal weapon, like a finely crafted weapon, and then on a damage roll, you get to choose whether you re-roll or not. And then on a like top tier, like a perfectly made weapon, you get advantage on your damage rolls. So that way you could kind of like scale your weapons. So I do like this. Again, is it good enough to like make relevant for a whole new book? No, but okay, at least they're adding little things. Hasbro basically is holding a gun to their head. Yeah. Oh yeah. The entire time. You don't see it, but like right off set, right off on the edge of set is a corporate suit standing there with a Tommy gun, being like, eyes completely wide, not blinking, staring them dead in the eye. So that's I can see the tension. I grabbed my first book, the Player's Handbook. I literally read half the book on the first day I got it. Oh hell yeah, man! Yeah, when you're excited, you just commit. You just keep going with it. All right, creating the alt covers. Wow, why is this a section, man? This isn't exciting. This isn't like. This video could have been 7 minutes. So far, they've said nothing. This video could have been nothing.
And we're showing you as much art as we can, and layout and page design, and even then it's not the same as holding it, especially when it comes to like the alt covers as well. Yeah. There is a texture, there is a way the light hits the gold that you can't really describe.
Yeah, the alt covers were really fun as well. We went sort of intentionally the opposite direction in the alt covers. We wanted to do something that was quiet and reserved, and really paid homage to these being books, right? To being TTRPG books, right? This is a place of people where they're gonna, you're gonna buy these at your friendly local game store. You're going in person to pick up a physical object. That sort of classic fairy tale style of a book kind of came to mind as an idea of, this feels like it both pays homage, but also is like a nice update and similar but different than what we've done before. So, and also a very big contrast to the traditionals.
So for the Player's Handbook, we've got another iteration of the Gold Dragon.
We have a gold dragon on the cover, having some tea with some friends. By Wiley Beckert is the artist there. And
all covers are far better, for sure.
They really nailed it. The kind of vibe that we were going for of, we want something cozy, we want something calm, we want something that calls back to sort of classic storytale illustrations. We want a relatively tight color palette here. But I guess the thing I'll say about the alt covers is you have to see them in person.
I like it, but it almost feels like not D&D, at least the dragon one.
The sort of soft touch to the cover.
It's got like a very different aesthetic.
Cover as well, so when you move them around, the way that the light hits them, the gold framing has beautiful shine to it, but the actual cover itself has almost like a lenticular style of foil. So when you see them, they're really beautiful and they're really different. And what I hope for these covers is, these, and also intentional in the style of these, is that I hope that people hang on to these for a long time, and I hope they get a lot of wear and tear. And I hope that, 10 years from now, these sit on a bookshelf next to other well-loved and well-used books and feel right at home.
Oh, yeah. All right. What's our favorite? I mean, Mind Flayers, the Monster Manual's pretty sick. I'm a big fan of that. Hey, what's our favorite, guys? What are we feeling? Rolling a 1 with a medium to high level character. Yeah. Nothing worse than rolling a 1 for sure. Especially on damage dice. There's nothing worse. But for the dice rolls, there's a simple idea, though. You can roll as many digital dice as you want on D&D Beyond, and it's actually free. Oh, cool. Okay. I prefer all covers. Yeah, they're so much better. Are these at upcharge? I'm sure they are. Why am I asking? Of course they're an upcharge. It's absolutely an upcharge. Like I said, this video is a bunch of vagueness. The title is pretty misleading. You were 100% right. The alt covers are beautiful. They're sick. Mind Flayer illustration. Yeah. The dragon feels different, and like the character style. Like I've never seen that style of characters in D&D. DMG, Dungeon Master, Mind Flayer, Monster Manual. DMG is good. Let me look at this. I do like it. It's got like a Shelob vibe to it. Monster Manual, Player Handbook, because it has interest in movement. Good. I'm glad everybody's got their own flavor on this one. I think I'm gonna go Mind Flayer if I had to pick one. But they're all solid. I would love to have all 3 of these books on my shelf. But I don't need to buy more books. And this is how they get you. Okay? Okay? You look at it, you're like, that's really pretty. I would love to have that. And then here you are. You know what I mean? I'm buying a book I don't need. That has no real rules in it. Just because I like the art. I should just buy a poster. I should just print this off. Hard decision, not going to lie. The Mind Flayer looks sick, but the DMG cover looks sick too. Book Goblin. Oh, dude. Don't even get me started. My fiance and I, we want to have a room that's just a library in our house. I love collecting books, and not just like obviously not just D&D books or TTRPG books, but novels and all of that. But man, I love owning them. And here we are. We keep on getting stuck with I want to own it, but I shouldn't. Honestly, they should have been just another optional rule set, which doesn't cost as much. That's how I feel. And if they want to update it and do like the 10-year anniversary, just make like an updated 5e book where they take all of the stuff from like Tasha's Cauldron, all the stuff that we've talked about from the other things, put it into this single book. So now it's just like you have everything. It's the single book. You don't have to keep messing around with it. That would feel fine. I think I think people will be upset regardless because that's just kind of how it goes. But I think that would make people less upset than whatever the hell we're doing now. I haven't seen enough, so I can't make my judgment yet, but we'll see. Honestly, it should have just been another. Okay. What are we getting into? We're getting how to use the new player's handbook. Well, you read it and then you play the game.
Next to other well-loved and well-used
that should be the whole
books and
thing.
Feel right at home.
I'm also excited for people when they get the book in their hands to page through it from beginning to end. We're hoping people will even read the introduction. We made it super short, so
it is short. Yeah.
So they'll read it, but the introduction does things like talk about the main components you need to play.
I can't believe we're talking about the introduction, man. I can't believe we're talking about the introduction. That's like, you just gloss over that. Keep it tight. Oh my gosh, it's just such a waste of time. Smash 3E into 5E and call it 6E and call it good. Honestly, not that bad. 3.5 rather. Yeah, 3.5. That's when I started it. I got it at 3.5. When I scroll down to the other videos and shorts, the first 4 are all from you. You're living only YouTube. Oh, dude, I'm glad I'm in your space and you can't get rid of me. I have not seen the class changes yet. So the idea is, we're going to watch. I was planning on trying to watch through all these, but if all of them are this slow and vague, then I'm forgetting if it was Kale or Nader Tot, which one of you guys said it, that I'll just go look at the actual like blog posts so I can just read through what actually has changed. But the idea is we're going to go through this, hear what they have to say, see if there's any changes. And I'm going to go through all of the videos. Like, there's a ton. So throughout this week, I'm probably going to be streaming a lot if you guys want to stick around, and we're going to be doing that. They're reading the Hasbro teleprompter. Yeah, actually, I do wonder if they're reading a teleprompter. So I work in video production and photography, and so you can see a certain look in someone's eyes when they're reading a teleprompter. It's like their eyes are so focused they don't blink. Like, usually when people talk, their eye kind of like bounces around, and you can see it a lot in YouTubers, like almost all YouTubers, right, that are doing like talk to the camera kind of stuff are using a teleprompter. And the second I started recognizing that, like, you see it all the time, right? The eyes just kind of like bounce around. Or they're just locked into the camera doing this as they're trying to read the text. So I'm going to actually, let's see if we can see their eyes and see if they're reading from a teleprompter, because I honestly wouldn't be surprised. 3.5 is still my fave. Oh, I did like 3.5 a lot. Oh my God. I'm in for a treat. Okay. I don't know if I should be excited or not, Arian. The class-specific videos are a lot more concise. Okay, great. I do like that. I don't want to get rid of you. Anyways, you are like my daily dose of D&D memes. Perfect. There we go. Good. Living in there rent-free. I'd love to see more streams. Okay, well, I'm going to force it down your throat. So hopefully you come by. We had a cool idea and then realized it was fun and good and new, but old. And I was in the park the other day and it was pretty. And there was new stuff that's pretty cool. Yes. You know what? Very good point. And I like that you said that, because that makes me feel important, which is valuable for a lot of people to feel good, don't you know? That positively. Class change videos have some good details and interesting changes. I'm excited to see what changes they made to running the game, i.e. heroic inspiration. Yeah, okay. I mean, hopefully there's a lot more to look forward to, but they're starting off absolutely terribly, like as bad as they can. All right. Back in the introduction of the player's handbook, we're going to go page by page and not say anything.
Which the player's handbook in the past has not done. It also, for anyone coming from the 2014 Player's Handbook, has a really critical sidebar that talks about what's new in the book. Also clarifies that this book, if is basically when you activate it in your game, this book does replace the 2014 Player's Handbook, and I think it's important for people to understand that, so we don't have people sort of trying to mix and match pieces of the two Player's Handbooks, but you can absolutely use this Player's Handbook with the adventures you already have for 5th edition.
But you can play a character from this new Player's Handbook right next to a character using the 2014 Player.
I like how he threw that in. He's like, now, easy. Okay, we don't want to lose 5e sales. Okay, so just to be clear, you can do this and this, right? Even though you just said you probably don't want to mix and match. If you actually want to see some of the biggest changes, the fighter changes video cover a lot of the big mechanical changes of combat, weapon mastery, and feats. Okay, sick. All right. I want to finish this because honestly, it's making me upset, and that's enough to like keep me around. It's now turning into just the meme of this. Oh yeah, I forgot to see. We got to look for the eyes, and see if they're on a teleprompter.
Player's Handbook as well. That's still true.
Absolutely. We have designed the new Player's Handbook so that characters built with it can be played with characters built with the 2014.
This man is either
Player's
locked
Handbook.
into conversation or he's reading
Now,
a teleprompter.
That is true for
but I don't.
the
You know what?
character options
No, he's not reading a
themselves.
teleprompter.
When it comes to
They're just choosing to be this
the
boring.
sort of baseline rules, the combat rules, the definitions of the conditions and whatnot.
Yeah.
If you are playing a 2014 character with 2024 characters, we have designed things so that the 2024 rules are what should be used in that situation.
Yeah.
Because those rules can handle a 2014 character being present, but the 2014 version of the rules will grind in a few places with a 2024 character.
But they can be played together. But they can be played together, okay? Just keep that in mind. Hasbro, they can be played together, I promise. But play the 2024 one. But they can be played together, okay.
Because of terms used in the 2024 character that are
Death Magic, exactly.
Only have definitions now in the 2024 rules, whereas you again can take a 2014 character and play them in a 2024 game.
And that is to their advantage, like being able to drink a potion with a bonus action.
Exactly. You're going to want even your 2014 character to be swimming in a 2024 pool because of the many improvements to the core rules.
Absolutely.
But then you'll go from that introduction into the first chapter, which teaches all the main rules of the game. Also sort of gets you used to referring to the rules glossary, because the book often, rather than going super deep on a particular rules topic, will give you the basics and then send you to the rules glossary for the nitty-gritty. Other times you'll get all of it in one place, depending on, is there...
I'm literally having a hard time focusing because he keeps on just saying such vague things, and I'm like, okay, I'll wait till he gets to like actual details. Did you play Baldur's Gate 3? I've only played a little bit. Now, I love Baldur's Gate 3, but I only played a small section, so I have to get back to playing it. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's just something to stream. I don't know if you guys like watching video games on streams, or you just want like D&D specific content. I don't know. We're gonna figure that out later. This is such a strange hypothetical. Very scared tactic presented as fun, right? Keeping it vague enough to make you buy it. You should have seen the introduction of the Spectre Beholder. He looks so incredibly awesome. Yeah. I haven't gotten there yet, but I feel like they did that game wonderful. I mean, the best D&D product to come out in a long time. People do that anyways. No one goes word by the rules. Do they know what homebrew is? Yeah, who is using the words and like the hard rules? Who doesn't at least have some homebrew in their game? It gives a whole group a chance to get up to D&D shenanigans without anyone having to DM. Ooh, that might be fun. Use the 24 so you can use potion as action. Yeah, right. We've got this like one little homebrew rule that I'm sure no one does in their home game, but you can add it. Yeah. Oh, Kale, the only time you get to play D&D is on Baldur's Gate. Yeah, no, I get that. Honestly, that is the way. All right. You got this, man. You've got another 25 minutes to say something that is detail specific.
Is there a version of the rule that you can learn that's just part of it versus do you need to know all of it at once?
Yeah.
And that first chapter has longer examples of play than we've ever done in a player's handbook
And those
before.
are fantastic. It's like you even have like art of the players around the table, and this happens, and this is what you rolled, and this is how that affected the game.
Along with commentary that explains what it is that you're reading about in that example of play. When you get to the character creation chapter, you, in addition to seeing the fun line art, are going to be brought step by step through the character creation process in a way that we've never done before, with also a lot of handy sort of get started quick bits in the chapter. Here's an example. When it comes time for you to assign your ability scores, if you've ever struggled, whether you're a brand new D&D player or maybe you're a veteran player but you're playing a class you haven't played before and you've struggled with, well, how should I assign my ability scores? Particularly if you're using the standard array or point buy. Well, we now provide suggested ability score arrays for every class in the book.
Oh my gosh, okay.
So that you can get started playing quickly. If you really love optimizing your character, and when you choose your background, you're not just interested in its story implications, but you're really interested in how it's going to affect your ability scores. Well, knowing that there are players where that kind of optimization is important to them, the character creation chapter has a table that tells you here are the backgrounds to choose if you are looking for backgrounds that bump these certain ability scores.
That's fantastic.
And we provide that kind of assistance throughout the chapter. It goes even further than making a character at first level. It also provides rules for making a character at higher levels. We really want people to embrace this idea we've talked about throughout 5th edition, that if you're playing with a group of experienced players and you want your brand new party to hit the ground running as a group of adventurers, we encourage you to start at 3rd level, not 1st. 3rd level is when every class now gets their subclass and all of their main class abilities. And to support starting at 3rd level, we have now the rules for starting at that level.
I've always found that weird about D&D is that like the way they make the classes feel is like it doesn't start until 3rd level. So why even have 1st and 2nd level? Like it's so recommended, and everything they do is like start at 3rd level. Or if you start at 1st level, we're basically just doing like one combat and then you should level up. Like just move the subclass choices into 1st level, but maybe that's to make it so it's easier to make your first character. But again, they recommended making it 3rd. I don't know. I don't understand models. I make everything. Is that strange? Like am I the exception? No. I think that's definitely the way to go. I like a mix. I think there's a lot of times that I will completely homebrew, and then there's times I'll use a module. But what I'm doing when I use a module is I am literally just taking the ideas I want, and usually like the set pieces, like they have a map already finished, and then I'm changing everything else. So like I get to take certain elements that they've like worked out a lot of the details on, but everything else has to change. I basically prep almost more when I have to do a module because I have to basically fix everything and make it make sense in the bigger scheme that they have to do. So maybe I should just stop doing that and just homebrew. I don't know. Yeah, that's not strange. I played D&D before. My Baldur's Gate 3 was an absolute gateway drug, and I'm obsessed. Yeah, I wonder how many people got started in D&D because of Baldur's Gate 3. I feel like a lot of the community who wants to make their own adventure homebrew, they homebrew their own stuff. Yep. Anybody didn't think so? Everyone I tell that to though was impressed for some reason. Well, I mean, it is impressive to be able to make your own thing and make it good. Like that's a difficult thing to do. Point is, who wants to read a book to learn to adventure? Exactly. If I DM, sometimes I have to homebrew and improvise a lot. My party always messes up the easiest stuff. I needed to give them an eternal potion of healing that has 5 charges per day to heal. Oh, yeah. Dude, taking them out. Some people are just wild. They're just going to die no matter what you do. Modules are great for plug and play, yes, especially with the inconsistent groups who only play once a month or once every 2 months when everyone's schedules align. Yeah. If you're not playing a lot, it's easy. So then, like, also, if you're playing multiple groups, I could see how module stuff would be the way to go. Otherwise, they die on the spot, simply breathing or some shit. This is the way. Makes for quick fun, and the DM doesn't have to prepare nearly as much, so less stress. Starting at first only helps in terms of new players learning new characters. Agreed. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It's just people who like don't have to do anything. The problem is I love very low level like TTRPGs, which is like counter to what 5e is, which is like 5e is a superhero game. So like we always play very low level adventures. Which again might be homebrew, right? Like we're homebrewing, we're taking 5e as a base thing, and then we're adjusting and doing like very low level stuff, so that getting items is more of our leveling up system than actually just getting levels. Have always been curious about subclasses come at 3rd level, say like the Beast Barbarian only getting their Beast feature later on, or Paladin not having an oath but still powers to level 3. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I love low-level stuff. I love low-level stuff because then it feels like you're more immersed in and I'm going to say reality with a hard quotes, because I don't think a realistic game is a better game, but I like that I'm more able to believe that my character feels fear and is in danger when they're low-level, compared to them being like, I'm basically a superhero. I'm basically a god. Why would I be worried about fighting these guys? I should win every single time, like... There's that element. So playing low levels, like it's easier to conceptualize and make decisions that make sense. Prestige classes would have been a cool thing to implement. And I think most people like low level adventures. I can't remember who did the poll, but I remember it talked about how the majority of D&D games end at level 12 or 14. Yeah. Oh yeah. I really want to know how many people are actually playing at level 20. Cause like when we get into the classes, like they're talking about the classes, when they get to level 20, when they get to level 15, it's like fun to look at. It's like nice to think, ooh, when I get there, that'll be good. But like the game gets so broken. It's got to be so hard to DM effectively at that level. It's just got to be impossible. Yeah, low level is definitely more relatable. And if I'm not DMing just player, I want to level up as fast as possible. I just like how to throw high damage. And yeah, maybe that's the counter to this point. Throwing high damage feels good. When you get to roll a shit ton of dice, and you're just like sitting there like shaking like 12d6, and you're just like, this is going to be big. Like that feels great. I'm 100% for that. Yeah, low level see the most playtime. Okay, good. Yeah, everybody's on the consensus, low level, and then doing the other stuff is fun. Probably going to end around level 13, and after that I'm going to be a boss rush from level 14 to 20. Oh, a boss rush at the end is a great way to do it, because at some point the characters, like the story just ends, or the characters have to like beat the biggest thing possible, or they die. Boss rush is good. In my 10 years of playing D&D, I've never had a campaign go to level 20. I've run one-shots at level 20, but it's just to get all too broken. Level 20 players are demigods. Yeah, it's crazy. You'd have to basically make an enemy that's so many enemies that are so unbeatable that like, what are you gonna do? So I don't. Yeah, low level till I die. You know what I mean?
In the player's handbook, as well as at any other level. So if you want to start a character at 18th level, because your DM wants you to dive right into epic play, the rules for that are in the player's handbook too. And then you go from there into classes, character origins, feats, equipment, and spells.
And also the species there's a lot of new there as well. Like the Goliath, all I can say is the Dragonborn feel very Dragonborn now. The Goliath feels exceptionally Goliath now.
Just the fact that there are species here who were in the 2014
Yeah, the Goliath wasn't in there.
The Goliath wasn't there, the Aasimar wasn't there, and the Orc wasn't there. So all three of those species now join other options that were present in 2014, and all of them have been enhanced in various ways. The community got to see an earlier draft of those enhancements in the Unearthed Arcana process, but since our game development continues beyond then, you're going to see even more. Great example of this, the Orcs Adrenaline Rush. The last time people saw it, recharged only on a long rest, but in the final version, actually recharges on a short rest or a long rest. The Aasimar, for people who have not yet seen the new version, rather than choosing a celestial revelation that is sort of fixed for the rest of your character's life, you now get to choose that whenever you use that trait. And so again, there are fun new options everywhere in the book, species included.
Now, not only is the new Player's Handbook available for pre-order right now on D&D Beyond, you can find that link in the video description, but
as quickly as I
also
can put
the
it in
new
there.
core rule books, both digital and physical, are available for pre-order as a bundle that includes the new Dungeon Master's Guide, the new Monster Manual, and the new Player's...
Oh my gosh. They've brought this up so many times. Okay, what are you gonna do? For real though, I love to roll a lot of dice. I kind of feel vicious then, but it's funny to imagine an enemy thinking when a max charge delayed fireball pops off. So yeah, 16d6 is crazy, and it just the ASMR of 16d6. Whew, that's good stuff. Most wholesome way to D&D, absolutely. Dude, if they come out with a book level 20 to 40, what's happening? They're so out of touch. All right. I need to use the restroom, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to play this because I guarantee I'm not going to miss anything. So you guys tell me after this section if I miss anything, because I guarantee there's not a single thing here that is necessary. So I'll be back and talk to or listen to this fluff.
Handbook. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's new in the Dungeon Master's Guide?
First and foremost, the Dungeon Master's Guide is bigger. Like all of the revised 5th edition books, we have added pages to the book. Things that were not in the 2014 book that are in this book include 5 short sample adventures, a complete campaign setting, a lore glossary, and another totally new feature of this book is the Bastions chapter. That's all new content that we wanted to get into this book, and that's why the book is one of the reasons why the book is bigger.
Why it is so chunky?
It's a chunky book. Yes, exactly. So one of the chapters of the book is called Creating Adventures, and it's all about helping the DM create adventures. There are tips and tricks that we can give you to help you do that. But all the advice aside, nothing compares to being able to see the advice being implemented. So after giving you a bunch of advice on how you can create your own adventure content for your home groups, we present 5 short adventures in a format that we think DMs will want to emulate and use for their own prep, accompanied by the maps that are in one of the appendices of the book. These adventures are meant to show you how you can create your own adventure content in a way that will be very easy for you to run at the table.
Perfect.
The campaign setting. Yes. When you are ready to build a campaign, this chapter does, I think, a very good job, a much better job of showing you what a campaign looks like by giving you an example of one, which no previous Dungeon Master's Guide has ever tried to do. And we thought the best campaign setting for this book is the Greyhawk setting. What we do is we give you a poster map in the book that has the world of Greyhawk, wilderness on one side, and the city of Greyhawk on the other, because we use the city of Greyhawk as a sample of what a campaign hub can be.
Okay. Did I miss anything? Take your camera with you. Arian, do we need to talk about? I mean, hit me with a DM maybe. I don't know. There's so many busted spell combos you can't imagine. Like, for example, a wizard casting Prismatic Wall. Yeah. And to trap a monster, then casting Reverse Gravity. Yep, that makes sense. A good chunk of the DMG is magic items description. Yeah, that would make sense. It's just a magic item book, right? Like, isn't that the whole thing? It's the same monster manual. Boom, boom, boom. Buffed. They added bastions and added guides to teach new DMs to DM. Okay, great. Nope, didn't miss anything. Talked about new chapters in the book, lore, glossary, bestiary, a bastion chapter, creating adventures, creating. Like the way I read this, like when you say this, I'm like, oh man, okay, maybe they did talk about something, right? But you just said everything that they said in that couple of, like 2 sentences. That whatever that took, you know what I mean? And it was like 2 minutes. They put samples in a map in a book. Whoop-de-doo, Basil. All right.
The campaign hub.
We're almost
is sort of
there.
Where the campaign starts, it's kind of its center, its core. And then we go out beyond that. We go into the regions around the city, and we describe what are some of the nearby areas of interest. Because in a campaign, as soon as you strike out from the hub, you need places to go, dungeons in the hills, or threats in the forest, that kind of thing. We flesh that out, and then we go even broader and show you the rest of the land known as Eastern Auric, or the Flaneus, this vast region around the city of Greyhawk. We flesh out all of those domains to the extent that we believe DMs need to get sort of a lay of the land, but at the same time saying, hey DM, now that we've given you this, make it your own.
Yeah.
Put your dungeon here if you want to. Add a town here if you want to. That kind of thing.
Who needs
It's
that?
very much built on the idea of we're giving you a sandbox,
Yeah.
we're throwing some toys in, and we're saying go play.
Yeah. Greyhawk is yours now.
It is, yes. That's a great way to say it. Greyhawk is yours. The next element I want to talk about is the lore glossary. The lore glossary is an
already do
alphabetical
that.
listing of some of the most famous places, figures, and materials that are so iconic to D&D that we want them to be shared knowledge among all D&D players of all ages. What is mithril in D&D? What is adamantine in D&D? That
that's
kind of
perfect.
thing. The lore
I will say the lore guide is a good idea as a way to just like kind of like make a universal context, especially for new players. So when someone says something, that's not a bad idea. I don't know how useful it actually is because people just make up their own lore. So, I mean, maybe I guess it depends what they're putting in there. It could be good, but most likely it's just going to be nothing again.
glossary captures a lot of that lore that many of us old-timers have embedded in our heads, but a lot of D&D players don't.
Yeah.
And so this is just an easy, quick reference guide for people who are looking for information about this mysterious thing they just stumbled upon. So the fourth wholly new thing in the Dungeon Master's Guide that I haven't talked about yet is the Bastions chapter.
I am very, very excited for this.
So Bastions is, while the word is new
He looked so sad
to
when he
our
said that.
lexicon in D&D, it's built on a very old concept because even going all the way back to the earliest editions of D&D, there were rules for building strongholds.
Yeah.
Often you didn't get access to them, though, until you were much higher level. We have designed the Bastion system in the Dungeon Master's Guide so that characters can start building their bastions at level 5.
Wow.
These continue to grow over the life of your
At level
adventuring career.
5?
But the magnificent thing about them is you basically run them as kind of like a separate little activity. It does not stop you from being an adventurer.
Yeah.
Your adventurer can go around saving the multiverse, run off to the Nine Hells or run off to the Feywild, do what you have to do. Once your bastion is up and running, it is kind of a self-sustaining unit. And it's the players who run the bastions. So every player is in charge of their own bastion and their own bastion's maintenance. And there are these this mechanism called the Bastion turn, which activates whenever the DM basically says, okay, your bastion, now take a bastion turn. You don't even have to be home for your bastion, for something to be happening in your bastion. But also, a bastion is like a mini game, a mini campaign that the player is controlling. The players are essentially DMing their own microcosms within the larger campaign, giving identities to their hirelings in the bastions, triggering events that happen in the bastions and seeing the results and consequences of those events. That's a very DM side of things.
Yeah, but won't it still be the DM's responsibility? I mean, I guess it depends on how this plays out. Okay, like I love having, as they call them, bastions, like a fort or like a special place that you get to like invest money in and start building out. Like I love that. I love that in video games. I love that in D&D. I usually make that for my players, is like, here's a place that they can start putting money into and making better, and then they get rewards. Which, it's existed. A lot of people have already talked about this. It'd be cool to have like a nice system that actually worked for this. I'm confused why he's saying like the players control it. Like giving players creative autonomy is awesome. I like that idea, but the way he's describing it is like, yeah, they get to trigger everything. But it sounds like if they're triggering everything, then why wouldn't they just do it on the side, like separate of the campaign, like when it's not happening? Because it just sounds like a mini game that like only involves that character. But then does the DM run it? I don't know. Did you hear of this one D&D stuff shop in Canada? They host every year a massive game of D&D in a shopping mall where 1,000 people play one campaign together in many small groups. Oh, that's sick. Getting 1,000 people to play like one D&D game is crazy. I couldn't imagine how much effort is required to get that to work. Well, I would love to see that. He's definitely not excited. I proposed level 5. There is one D&D book that actually says 3 frost giants and 2 ice wolves are a fit encounter for a level 5 party. Okay, wow. Bastion are such a cute addition. They're giving too much time to them in this video. Yeah, they're right. They're just a nice little touch. But again, it's just like a small little thing. It's not something crazy. I love them, but it seems like something that's already just implemented in games and gets added, but doesn't need to be in the core rule book. I guess hopefully more people use them, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying not to be so cynical. Keep some positivity in here.
So I love the idea that the Bastions are in the Dungeon Master's Guide because, in effect, it's allowing the players to get a taste of what DMing is like.
Yeah, it's very sneaky.
Yes, and it's a wonderful out-of-game activity.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's a great minigame.
Yeah, when you're if the session has to be canceled or whatever, and you can't play tonight or whatever, that's okay. Your DM can just say, "Everybody, take a Bastion turn."
Yeah, send the message.
And then off the players go, and they just let the DMs know what their Bastions did on that particular turn. It's a fabulous sort of game within a game.
And then we have just a massive treasury. Treasure section.
Yes. So as in 2014, the biggest chapter in the Dungeon Master's Guide is the treasure chapter.
Loot.
Yes. Every magic item is getting. You've got a little hairy eyeball. We took a look at it. We made some refinements to it. We stuffed even more magic items into the chapter to address certain holes or gaps that we'd identified. For instance, in the 2014 DMG, there weren't a lot of common magic items, so we imported a few. We also saw opportunity to squeeze in some, shall we say, nostalgic delights. In celebration of 50th anniversary, including things like magic items used by the kids in the D&D cartoon.
Perfect. Yeah.
We've also taken another crack.
Do you guys use like pre-written magic items, or are you just making them on the fly? Because I make a lot of mine on the fly, and I haven't actually looked through a lot of the like in-book magic items. I feel like they're pretty just the ones I remember seeing, and it's been years since I've looked at it. We're just like this thing casts a fireball or has a spell attached to it, so it's just there's nothing new to it. It's just a spell or on a thing or like a +1. Like they're not actually special. I mean, there's of course a few like the immovable rod and like bag of holding that get used for everything, but I feel like a lot of it is just making your own thing that your players are going to really like. But hopefully they have some creative ideas that could help spark some other things. I don't know. A lot of effort. Players have different tasks, and sometimes massive group checks happen, even if a whole table succeeds. Oh, that's cool. Tim, that's great. Some of my players can't be trusted with the Bastion system. I think that's what you're referring to, Brandon. Yeah, it can be dicey, but it does sound like a game that you would play outside of D&D, which I don't know how many of my players would do that. Maybe they would, but I feel like a lot would be like, oh shit, I didn't mess with that, and then they come back and not do anything. And then I use, you said not really, you don't use from the DMG. I use some of them and I make my own. Yep, always a good balance. I use a lot of pre-made items, but I generally alter a lot of them or use third-party magic. Yeah, like, again, content. Like I see on Instagram a bunch of different kind of like magic items, like, oh, that's such a good idea. And I'll take an idea of that and apply it to something else so that are specific that my player has like talked about or referenced. I almost exclusively use ones in the guides, but if it's a big important one, like the fighter has been searching for in a single bag, then I homebrew. Okay, so yeah, you are using more of the things. So maybe I should look at that again and see if it's actually like relevant to what I'm using. And then the coolest thing is the final battle. Was played in real life. One guy dresses as the main good guy and fought the villain on stage. That's fun. On the fly, I love giving them a thunder damage firebolt or an item that can allow them to go vertically if they dash once a day. Oh, that's cool. All good magic items. So again, maybe this is like a good addition to the DMG. I would never buy this book. For the magic items. I don't know if I'll buy. I don't think I'll buy the DMG. I have no intention to unless the cover art tricks me into it. That part, that's where it's dangerous.
At the crafting magic items rules, how do you, a player, how do you, a character, craft an item of your own, with your DM's consent, of course?
And is the crafting system also in the player's handbook, or is it only the DMG?
That is a great question. So the answer is yes. There is crafting magic items in the player's handbook, but it's limited to some very simple potions and scrolls.
Okay.
So you can create a low-level spell scroll, or you can create a potion of healing or some other low-level potion. The rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide are broader and encompass more variety.
Perfect.
We have a whole chapter on the cosmology of D&D, which talks about the worlds of D&D and the planes of existence that are out there waiting to be explored. We tried to make them more beautiful this time around. We tried to give you even more useful information as a dungeon master about some of these places, and while still making it clear that, hey, you're the DM. What you show of the multiverse is entirely up to you.
Perfect.
We haven't talked a lot about the tracking sheets.
Yeah, tell me about the tracking sheets.
So one of the fun new features that's sprinkled through the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, like candy, are these delightfully charming tracking sheets that not only do we put in the books as kind of like a show and tell to show you what we mean, but also we're going to make them downloadable off of our website so that you can just print them out and put them in whatever you use for your campaign journal. And these sheets are designed to help you keep track of important information in your game or in your campaign. There is for instance, if you want to create a new NPC, there is a sheet that we give you that you can use and write on to capture important information about that NPC, and it's presented in a very clean, elegant way. There is a sheet that you can use to build settlements like towns and villages. There's a sheet players can use to keep track of important information about their bastions. There is a sheet you can use as a DM to keep track of the magic items that you've dispensed to the party in the course of the campaign, to keep track of important character information, so that you have some information about
this is also known as a journal,
readily accessible to you as a DM behind your screen. And then I think most importantly, or the sheet that I find most useful, is the session planner sheet, where you know you've got a game session next week. You can write down the key beats of what you think is going to happen, key characters, make notes and other things. These sheets are beautiful. I think they're compelling. I think a lot of DMs will want to use them or want to create versions of them. And they have charming little illustrations of monsters on them, which I think are absolutely delightful. Now, I haven't talked about the first 3 chapters of the book, Todd.
That's my fault. I am a terrible interviewer.
Okay. Tim, that's awesome. That event sounds great. Yeah, they cost $30 per sheet printed. Is crazy. Crazy. I have a $1 notebook for this. Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like the problem with D&D is people are trying so hard to make money off of things that just don't need anybody to make money off of them. Like, it's just a piece of paper. Just use a piece of paper and write that thing down. You don't need any of this like extra like categorization of this. I write on the back of my hand. Just as good. You don't even need paper. You just need a pen. You got all these limbs. What are you using them for, huh? This is my whole campaign. I can put it right there. All right. We've almost made it. They're nice starting points, but the lazy Dungeon Master, Michael Ishe, and so many other third-party creators have cheaper and arguably better options. That's fair. That's fair. I just have never used one of those. You know, and you know, maybe that's also a downfall of mine, but I just usually just track the important things in like a Google Doc. I got all that set up, and then that's all I need. Time for the final boss fight. Hold on, got to take my pants off to read my notes. Oh yeah, that's the true final boss. You standing there, naked behind the DM screen. It's a good move. It's powerful. People are gonna respect you. It's good.
Tell me about the first few chapters of the book.
Chapters 1, 2, and 3 are super important.
Okay.
And we put them at the front of the book because they're super important.
That's a good structure.
Chapter 1 is called The Basics.
Perfect.
It is a short chapter.
Weird.
Primarily.
It's weird that they're doing this like they're bringing it up like it's oops an accident, but like they definitely edited a lot of this. So why didn't they just take a second and be like, oh yeah, do you mind bringing this up first? Like, I don't know. It's like it got this weird feel where they're trying to make it feel really casual, but it's still significantly edited. I don't know.
Aimed at DM curious folks who haven't DM'd or haven't DM'd much and are curious to really kind of dive in and sink their teeth into the DM role. And then when we quickly segue out of there into chapter 2, which is called Running the Game.
Oh, there's a whole Matthew Colville thing based off that. Just watch that instead. Oh, Tim, don't be sorry, man. That's awesome. You're not pestering. I love that. I'm glad you like it so much. It seems cool. It seems like an awesome event. It's like 1,000 people playing a game is extraordinary in any capacity, and especially for D&D because it's dope.
And it is literally that. It includes a sample walkthrough of play. There are similar things in the player's handbook, but this one is more aimed at the Dungeon Master. When we get to chapter 3 is a weirdo. There's a bunch of topics that have to be covered that are very situational. Mm-hmm. Traps, how poisons work, siege engines.
My anxiety's rising.
About, NPC building, a bunch of these miscellaneous topics.
I still don't know how grappling works. Like I think I do, but I'm pretty sure I'm still wrong. You know, that's going to end up in that chapter.
That the 2014 DMG covered, but they were sort of scattered.
Right.
Everywhere throughout the book.
These are the building blocks.
Yes, it's a good way to look at it. Building blocks. We call chapter 3 the DM toolbox because it's just this cyclopedia of miscellaneous parts. Toys that can come up in play. And we organized it alphabetically by topic. So it is this alphabetically topical listing of different things. You need more information about curses and how curses work. There's a section on curses. You need more information about hazards like green slime, yellow mold, brown mold, fireball fungus.
No.
Yes. That's all.
Oh my God, he said
hazard.
He broke through his robotic training and he said the honest thing. No, I don't need those things. You just make it up on the spot. Or you already have your own like unique use of it. I don't know.
Section.
Everything feels
alphabetically
like a new, fresh experience, and like you said, a better experience for existing players who have been playing D&D. But this also feels like the best time to learn D&D now.
It is taking.
I don't want to be a gatekeeper here. I want to make it very clear. If this is going to help people get into the game, awesome. I love that. If this is what gets people to learn the game and it is simplistic for them, then this is good. Unfortunately, it is also a cash grab for a lot of people who might feel FOMO. But like again, if this is like the stepping stone that makes someone feel comfortable to actually DM, then they should do this. I want to make sure that I don't feel like I'm gatekeeping. A lot of this information feels like maybe it feels natural because I've been DMing for so long. That I would just assume, just make it up or go with these kinds of ideas. But maybe this is like the baseline to give someone an idea that they didn't previously have.
The wonderful bits of the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide and resorting them and blending them in a way with new stuff that does, in fact, turn it into a new book.
Now, we've talked a lot about the new Player's Handbook, and you and I have talked a lot about the new Dungeon Master's Guide, maybe more than we should have. But we also have the new Monster Manual. Tell me a little bit about that. How has this been revamped?
So this is the largest monster manual the game has ever had. Over 500 monsters in it.
That's a good art.
That
I like that art.
includes not only many of the classic foes that people expect to face in D&D, but also many creatures that could serve as allies. We have rebuilt every monster that was in the 2014 Monster Manual, striving to make it as fun as it can be, make sure it's as scary as it should be for its challenge rating. But then we've also added a bunch of new monsters. There are over 75 new monsters in this book, and many of the new monsters fill in families of monsters that already existed. Great example. The game already, of course, had vampires in it and multiple types. Well, there are even more types now.
You knew that would please you, Tom.
Yes. And the additional vampire types are there because when we have looked at each of the major families of monsters, we've wanted to make sure that there were opportunities for groups to encounter that family of monster
Without getting murdered right away?
Maybe sooner than they could before.
Yeah.
But also in some cases, we also wanted there to be higher CR versions of some of these families of monsters.
Oh,
so
nice.
there's a new low CR vampire, which is a vampire that is still partly mortal in the process of becoming a full vampire. But then on the other end, we have a new vampire that is more powerful than the sort of apex vampire that we had in the 2014 Monster Manual. We've also fleshed out many of the families of NPCs that existed in 2014. We wanted to make sure that those NPC groups remained relevant for more of a campaign, particularly because we know that DMs used the heck out of those NPC stat blocks that were in 2014. And so in addition to expanding out some of those NPC groups, whether it's bandits or priests or mages, we've also created new groups. So there's now a group of performers, there's now a group of pirates, and so on, because we want to make this book the indispensable tool for DMs as they're preparing adventures and campaigns.
I mean, the Monster Manual has to be the most useful book out of the three, I think. I mean, and I wonder if they revamped the monsters to then be equal to the power level of the new players, the 2024 player characters. So, I mean, that would be good. It's always good. I think more monsters is universal, always good to have. Oh, Tim, yeah, dude, YouTube's the place to get people all on the same page about your hobby. I mean, yeah, I think the explosion of like YouTubers doing D&D has made it so a lot more people have accessibility to the game, because if you just have no one in your town playing, then it's really difficult. And Nader, you talked to people who said they were into DMing after watching this. I mean, that's great. Maybe that's the like real takeaway. It makes it feel very user friendly, and that's the important section of this, right? It makes people believe that they can do this, and they can. I mean, 100%. DMing is not difficult. There's a high skill ceiling, like you can keep on getting better, like you never stop getting better, but it's also very easy to just start and do, you know? So good. I mean, good. If people are getting into this, that's the way to do this. That's the most important thing, I guess.
To go to this book for inspiration, to be inspired by the art, by the stat blocks, by the story text, as they're creating their adventures, but then also to have a whole bunch of stat blocks that are super easy to use at the table when initiative is rolled, and the DM can unleash a whole bunch of surprises.
Because there's been a little bit of extra added to them. And the art is also stunning. I've seen some of the art as it's been coming in, and that is stunning as well. And
Almost all the art in the book is new.
that's perfect.
Yes.
Almost all of the art in the book is new, which means that some of it's not. I mean, are they like doing homages? That seems like a weird brag. That seems like something you would want to keep under the rug. Like, everybody's assuming all of the art is new, right?
It's glorious.
Yes.
Yes. One of the key things that we paid attention to was making sure that if it's a pre-existing monster, its challenge rating stayed the same. And that was a necessity for us because we want to make sure that the monsters are all compatible with our previous 5th edition adventures. But we knew, based on extensive playtesting and 10 years of experience, that not all the monsters were hitting their CR exactly right. So that gave us room to make some fun adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there will
CR is
be
not even
many
close.
monsters, particularly at the higher CRs, that are going to be far more terrifying than they were before. We also, in the monster manual, have created Apex versions of certain creature types that didn't have an Apex version before. Some of our creature types, dragons and giants being prime examples, along with our fiends, have long had really high CR, iconic examples of those creature types. We also, of course, have the Tarrasque as the apex monstrosity, but we have some other creature types that were missing a monster at that high level of difficulty, and so we have filled those gaps in the new monster manual. So that now means we have, in the construct category, we have a colossus that can just trample cities. In the ooze category, we have the blob of annihilation that can dissolve entire towns worth of people into it. I mean, a total horror. We now have an arch hag in the Fey category.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm a big fan of hags.
That can strike true terror into high-level groups, cackling
Never
while
mind, won't play
doing
that
it.
one. Too high level.
Even the elemental category, it's interesting. Elementals, that's one of the most classic monster categories, but it too was actually missing a monster at the sort of Tarrasque tier, and it now has one in the form of the elemental juggernaut.
Well, we're about.
Yeah, DMing can be very intimidating, but it is a ton of fun once you actually get to know how to do it. You dump your strength. I'm proud of it. That's so funny, dude. Yeah, you got to dump some stats. Yeah, whatever's gonna make you better at D&D. You don't need the rest. Why do I need to be dexterous? Who cares? And CRs made no sense. Hopefully these CRs are actually close. I mean, because a lot of it is now. I either have done it, so I know what's going to happen. Like, I understand what's balanced. And yeah, you're right. There is a lot of fudging dice rolls where you're like, oh, this thing hits way harder. Like, a 2 hits and this person's dead is a little too significant for like a level 2 encounter, All right, let's see.
About at time.
We're almost
We're
there.
going to have a series of these videos coming out every single day during the weekdays. We are going to be going over different features in the player's handbook. We're going to be going over every subclass, every class, rules glossary, spells. I hope everyone doesn't get sick of me because we're going to talk about this every single day. I'm very excited that all 3 of these books are up for.
We won't be sick of you if you actually talk about it. Like, if you actually say things about it. Like, I bet playing with these guys, I bet these guys love D&D. I bet they love it so much, and I bet they play all the time. and it's just crazy to me. Maybe they're nervous because they're in front of a camera and they know a bunch of people are going to see it, and now they're going through like, you know, their corporate training to figure out how they're supposed to talk about these things. But man, I know if like you just were able to have a drink with one of these guys, or just talk to them like outside of things, that they would be able to talk about it in such detail and with such passion that it would be such a better experience. I don't know why we haven't allowed that to happen, or like the company's not pushing for that kind of thing.
Pre-order, and that you can also pre-order the Player's Handbook separately. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for letting me interview you for so many years and put up with my fanboyness. But I'm so excited for these books. You've done an amazing job, and I hope you get a chance to actually enjoy any time. I know you're still working on the Monster Manual right now and the DMG. So
yeah, we're still in the thick of it. But again, we were just playing D&D this past weekend, and in our hearts, we're D&D fans first. And to me, it is a wonderful sign that what I kept thinking was, I as a fan cannot wait to have these books in my hands because I want to simply be playing.
The new Player's Handbook is available for pre-order right now on D&D Beyond. You can find that link in the video description. And you can also find the new core rule books bundle for pre-order, both physical and digital. Thank you so much for watching. We have a ton of video content coming out about the new Player's Handbook.
Absolutely made it.
All the new core rule books, the new Monster Manual, the new Dungeon Master's Guide. So be sure to check out all of that content. And thank you for watching.
Do you think these guys play like other systems? Like, do you think they've played any of the other ones? They have to, right? Like, they have to be playing some of this. Because they have to be kind of, well, I mean, maybe not. Because I feel like if you were a major TTRPG creator, that you should be playing all these things to try and, like, get ideas and see what works and see what doesn't. Because, I mean, of course, all of the things are like stolen ideas of other things, and they're just iterations, right? They're standing on the shoulders of giants. We finally made it. Thanks for the stream. Hey, thanks for sticking around. Oh, so they do play Pathfinder. That's awesome. Okay, then playing Pathfinder makes a lot of sense. I think they've talked about it before, and some of the new content is based off the current Pathfinder 2 rules. Yeah, of course. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Do we feel more convinced after watching this? I was hoping to have a little bit more clarity. Like, I was like, oh, I'll be able to watch this video, say I have mixed feelings, and then be like, I'm leaning towards X or Y. I'm leaning towards like more excited or less excited. And I feel just as confused as I did when I started. You know, like they didn't. It felt like the longest announcement video I've ever heard. But we already knew it was coming out, and they talked about a little bit of things. I know you guys said the other ones are far more specific, so hopefully those things kind of like give us some idea. But right now, that didn't make me feel more excited for the book. Okay. I'm thinking, I know I pulled up a couple other ones that we might get to. This one's 13 minutes, and this one's 17. All right, what do you guys say? We go into the new weapons mastery and maybe check out the new feats, because the new weapons mastery seems good. You know you're going to buy the books. I don't know if I... Oh, man. Am I going to buy the books? You know you're going to buy the books is like such a valid statement, but also... I don't know if there's anything that worth buying them for. I don't know if I'd actually take them and use them. That's the biggest element. I think it comes down to if my playgroup as a collective decides that they want to buy the books, or if they want to just keep doing what we're doing. And I don't know which way that my group is feeling. You know what I mean? There's a lot of love going to these books. I do believe that, but I also believe there's a lot of restrictions going into these books as well. Right? Like, I think there's a lot of love going in, but I think there's a lot of things that are like preventing them from really making big changes and trying to make a game that they really love. Because like 5e's made, and this is just like 5e just with a little bit of spit shine, maybe. yeah, I don't see much point in it, especially for the price. And yeah, considering they spent the first 10 minutes just talking about weapon mastery. I don't know. Gonna probably cave on and buy one of the alt covers. Probably gonna get the PDFs to see for myself if they're good and maybe make content on them. Oh, hell yeah, dude. Nadertod, if you make anything, let me know, man. I'd love to see it. Yeah, I mean, how much are the PDFs? How much are the PDFs? They gotta have it in here, right? Pre-order the product. Why would you? I guess pre-order if you just want it. Ooh, for 3 books that you only get one this year and then the others next year is $90. Okay, the digital bundle. Is there just a digital Player's Handbook and D&D? Good. What's just a Player's Handbook worth? $30? Oh, okay, that's not as much as I thought it was. But what is this, a bundle? $30 is not bad for a book. Ooh. Okay, but yeah, but what about the alt? What about the alt covers, huh? What about the alt covers? I mean, that's where they're gonna get me. D&D 2020. I don't even know what are they calling this? D&D 2024 Player's Handbook alternate cover. Oh, can you just not buy them yet? All right, I don't know. It's well priced compared to like a lot of the third party stuff that I've been looking at. It's not that bad. Gonna probably your group has already agreed to play. You want to try Tales of the Valiant, right? So like it's a whole different thing. You know, like this is the hard point, because then there's other systems I would love to play. So do I convince them to try 5.5e because it's just a small step and they don't have to do much? Stay what I'm doing so that I can keep on doing what I'm doing, or go into like playing a new system so that we can expand our games and see if we like it better. Oh, they haven't named the series of books yet, because 1D&D 5.5e 2024 Player's Handbook. Like, are they just keep on swapping all of these? My issue is I know my Lego Game Store is going to have some of the alt covers up front and display, and I won't be able to resist. That's how they get you. It always gets me. I go into the game store, I'm like, I'm just looking for some things, and then immediately I'm buying something, and I didn't know I spent like $70. I'm like, how'd I get here? 5.5 is probably going to stick. That's what I think. I think 5.5 it just makes sense. It has a history to it. All right. The weapon mastery seems like one of the more promising things of this. Are you going to try out TV because of the Kobold press, and it's supposed to be very close to original 5e. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, do you want something drastically different, or you want something the same? I don't know. All right, the weapon mastery seems good. It seems like it's something that might actually have a big shift. Hopefully this video, they actually get into some details. And if it's just fluff, I'm going to scream. I'm absolutely going to scream. So, all right, Todd, I need you to direct this one, buddy. Hard-hitting questions, okay? Tough journalism. Let's do it.
We have weapon mastery, which has a significant impact on so many classes, subclasses, all these characters that has completely changed the game. Can you tell me more about this?
Weapon mastery properties are brand new properties that we have assigned to all of the game's simple and martial weapons. And you must have a class feature that allows you to unlock weapon mastery.
Oh, that sounds a
to
little
be able to use
complicated.
those properties.
Oh shit! Thank you.
Is if a wizard,
Thank you.
who does not have a weapon mastery feature, picks up a weapon, that weapon is going to function the way they expect it to from the 2014 rules. Although a number of weapons have had some tweaks made to them in addition to the weapon mastery properties. However, if you are a character, whether you are a fighter, a barbarian, a rogue, a paladin, a ranger, or someone who has otherwise unlocked the ability to use weapon mastery, suddenly when you use the dagger, because of your mastery with the weapon, you will be able to unlock its mastery property. And each weapon has a specific mastery property from a list of properties that has been assigned to it. And so with the dagger, that property is a property called Nick. It allows you to benefit from the extra attack that the light property in the dagger gives you without having to spend your bonus action on it. It's simple, but powerful. Because what that suddenly means is the person who has decided to focus their mastery option on daggers, they've just freed up their bonus action to do something else with it. This is just a great example of how weapon mastery powerfully transforms how certain characters use their weapons. There are other weapons that have a property called graze. And if your character unlocks the graze property in a weapon, that means that you are so good at using that weapon that you will always manage to at least graze your target even if you missed. And again, transformative. Now, no character in the player's hand.
I like this, but it's also going to be so annoying. This is great. I like that they're doing this, but of course it's just more complicated, and that's going to be okay. But playing with new players, that part's going to suck. Of like, well, actually, because you're using this weapon, and you have this thing, you get a graze. But oh, sorry, you don't get it because you're a druid, so you don't have the. I almost wish they just did it for all weapons, but I get why they didn't. It adds more of that feat, but then I don't know. I think it's going to be a little complicated. I do like the idea of giving each weapon an actual difference instead of being, why wouldn't you always just pick the one that has the highest damage die?
Handbook has access to every mastery property simultaneously. Just as a spellcaster has to choose the cantrips that they know from a larger list of available cantrips for their class, the characters who have the weapon mastery property choose a certain number of those properties that they have unlocked. And how you make that choice is you choose the weapon. So for instance, if you're playing a class that lets you unlock 2 mastery properties, you would choose 2 weapons. You might pick dagger and short sword. And that means you get to use the mastery properties of those 2 weapons. Some classes are able to have more mastery properties unlocked at one time than others. The leader of the pack in that regard is the fighter. The fighter is the master of weapon mastery. The fighter, over the course of their career, they are able to have more and more mastery properties unlocked at a time. And then even at a higher level, they get to a point where they are able to also swap in certain mastery properties over other mastery properties.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more about that when we dig into the fighter.
Yeah, that's amazing though.
There are other properties that...
Yeah, I do like the idea of making a fighter more complicated. You give them so much more to do instead of just bonk, right? But like you're saying, Kale, it does make it so the easy classes, the ones that are like, okay, you don't know what to do, take the fighter. It's going to be easy. It's very straightforward. Yeah, you're not going to have that simple class. Of course, you can just cheat and make everything easy and just be like, hey, don't worry about these extra stuff. I also wish that maybe they do this. I don't know yet, but I hope that if they have like a sword and your weapon mastery, it just has graze, like they said, and that you make it so it can also have, you can like stack other weapon types. Like that would be, I think, a neat way to make the fighter a little different. It sounds like they're just trying to make a fighter feel viable, which the martial classes need. Like spell users are so much better. But again, sometimes the play experience you want when you're playing a fighter is to just don't think about it, run up to the guy and hit him. You know, like that's the best option. But this is definitely an improvement. I'm weary about it.
That push people back There's Topple,
good.
where you can knock someone down with the battle axe, for instance, that has the Topple mastery property. You can choose your weapons to combo with each other in different ways. A great example of this is the short sword has the Vex property, and Vex, when you hit somebody with a weapon that has the Vex property and you've unlocked that property,
Cool.
it means your next attack roll against them has advantage. Well, we carefully constructed the mastery property selections to benefit different sort of class fantasies. So in this case, this is all about empowering the rogue to be able to set themselves up with advantage for their next attack, so that then that attack has
Sneak attack.
it can sneak attack. And there are things like that throughout. Ranged weapons, because again, mastery properties aren't just on melee weapons. For example, the longbow has the slow property. And the narrative here is,
cool.
imagine you're hitting someone in like a leg or somewhere else that is going to slow them down. When you think about the long range of the longbow, this allows you
that
to
makes sense, Kale.
keep that creature way over there, because you are making it harder and harder for them to reach you.
Yeah.
And again, the tactical possibilities start multiplying, particularly if you have weapon mastery and you're also playing a class that eventually gets extra attack, because you can start using one weapon for one of those attacks and another weapon for the other one, and exploit their different mastery properties to create some fascinating tactical combinations yourself.
That is fun.
So the Great Club has push, which makes perfect sense. You can knock someone back 10 feet. But a heavy crossbow, it's perfect, because if you want to knock someone off a cliff, if you want to shoot someone right off the wall of a castle, that has a new element of strategy now.
And right there
That's
too,
cool.
you see
I do like that.
when you compare the mastery properties on the different weapons, adding them allowed us to bring out some of the narrative differences among these weapons in a way that we never could before.
Right.
So if you compare the heavy crossbow to the longbow, one of them is slowing, the other one is pushing. That's actually an example of us being able to finally show how being hit in the real world by those two weapons feels different.
Right.
Because a crossbow hits with a force because of the mechanism. The longbow does not necessarily. I mean, they're both. You don't want to be hit by either of them.
True.
But it was a lot of fun for us to look at how can we actually bring these weapons to life in a way we never could before, now that we have weapon mastery. Everyone has the option of taking a feat that unlocks some weapon mastery. So we wanted to make sure that no matter what class that you're playing or subclass, you have the ability to dip your toe into this pool through the feat system.
And there's also SAP, which gives that target disadvantage.
SAP is perfect against a foe that's actually really scary, and you want to impose disadvantage on their attack rolls.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there are a number of weapons that have SAP, and like the mace, the spear.
I almost wish that they, I wish it was just universally on all weapons. Does that seem broken? I think it would just be better if all clubs had push, and you didn't have to take the feat in it. But maybe that hinders the martial classes, and that's the problem here. Tim, awesome to be here. I have to leave now. Got to take a small power nap, and I have to go to own a 6 to 8 hours trip to Berlin because of judo camp. Oh, hell yeah, man. Thanks for watching, man. I appreciate you sticking by. Have fun. Safe travels. Don't get hurt. Judo camp, I don't know. Dangerous, but I'm sure it'll be a blast. Thanks for stopping by, man. Okay. Yeah, everybody big bye to Tim. There it is. Okay, so I almost wish that you didn't have to take the feats to then be able to use the extra things. But maybe that is like not balancing. Like obviously these guys have thought about it more than I have, obviously. But I don't know. I just wish I didn't have to like be like, oh, as a DM, I'm thinking about it. I wish I didn't have to like parse through whether you have this skill or not. But I'm sure it'll just be on the players and they'll be fine. But yeah, I don't know what you could do instead. So all right, this is definitely a huge improvement though.
And it, again, really good against the scarier foes, but also another example of us looking at ways to enhance not only the narrative of different weapons, but also key into certain class fantasies better. So the mace, often associated with the cleric, and clerics have traditionally been all about protecting their friends. And so we were particularly eager to then put sap on the mace, because sap is all about diminishing how scary someone else is to your group.
I'm gonna forget sap literally every single time.
Other weapons have mastery properties that are all about knocking people down or setting up your next attack.
How many times can you use weapon mastery? Is this every attack you can use that weapon mastery?
Yes. So if you have the weapon mastery unlocked on a weapon that you're using, it's designed so that you can theoretically be benefiting from the mastery property every time that you hit with the weapon, or in some cases, like with the grace property, when you miss with the weapon.
See you, Brandon. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. I mean, thanks to everybody for coming out. I did not think we were going to get many viewers for the first stream, so I appreciate you coming. Remember, a lot of these changes were made with their big new shiny VTT in mind. Right. I mean, that's the end goal, right? And the VTT might have a lot of automation options like some other VTTs that are already out there. Yeah, because if you have a VTT running this, like if you have a game... Oh, Brandon, good to see you're sticking around. Okay, so... yeah, I mean, if you have something like, if you were running this a video game, you can make things so complex because you just don't have to hold on to that information as the players, right? Like you get to just keep doing your thing, like you get to put a sap on, and so when the bad guys start to attack, it's taken care of. I think I would assume they would hold on to that, like put an effect to show like this player is sapped or something like that. And in that sense, it makes sense. These would be perfect. At a table, it might be a little bit more annoying, but again, I guess it's fine. You just get used to it. Okay.
And it is because of that design that we kept the mechanical weight of these mastery properties very light. We wanted them to be very impactful, but not a huge slowdown in play.
And not tremendously complex by themselves.
Exactly. So they are very weighty in terms of what they do, but they are not highly complex because, particularly in the hands of a character who starts getting many attacks, like think about a high-level fighter who can just attack, we wanted to make sure that because these are getting applied potentially over and over again, that they weren't going to bog the game down. And so that was a huge focus of our internal playtesting, is making sure that these each meet the goal of being really spicy and fun and create tactical interest while at the same time not bogging down play.
We talked about this before, but now when you see one of these
balance.
Weapons in play, you have a different context. It is not just a dice roll now when you see a great axe. When you see a crossbow, it's not just getting hit by a bolt. It's you may get pushed back 10 feet and fly right off a cliff. So there's a new context emotion.
With something like that, I think it works this way, but if you did like a bolt, right, that pushes someone out of someone else's attack of opportunity range, does it trigger the attack of opportunity? It would, right? Like push seems like such a good thing, because I think that's what warlocks have, right, when they're Elder Blast. Someone help confirm for me, because I have, if you know, because I do not know. I would assume it does, right? Because that makes them cracked. That makes it such a good attack.
Actually, and narratively for what these weapons are now. They mean something extra.
Well, especially for the DM, because it is primarily going to be monsters that are facing this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And,
Thanks, Kale.
But it also means that players can be much more interactive with each other in setting combos up. Because now if you know, all right, that crossbow isn't just going to do damage, but it might also displace the target. That creates a tactical situation for the group to have fun thinking about that wasn't there before.
It's very simple though, but that is by design, as you mentioned. But it's had a tremendous impact in playtest and even your home game.
Oh, the weapon mastery transforms every battle. And again, we had to make sure that the complexity level was low because of how often it can happen. And I can say in our playtests that it has succeeded at delivering the fun and the tactical interest that we wanted. I, in the playtests, spent most of my time playing a fighter, and I had a ball creating, especially as the fighter was higher level and had more and more masteries unlocked. I loved being able to play this mini game of, all right, at first I want to use this weapon because of this mastery property. Then my next attack will be this one where I can exploit what I did with the previous weapon. Super fun.
The new Player's Handbook is available.
I'm converted. That does sound sick.
D&D Beyond, you can find that link in the video description, and you can also find the new core rulebooks bundle for pre-order, both physical and digital. Thank you so much for watching. We have a ton of video.
Yeah, we've heard that from you. That seems sick. That seems like a huge upgrade. That does make fighters actually seem like you can do something with them. I do like that a lot. And man, imagine your job being play testing D&D, and then like being like, that wasn't good. Let's do that. Yeah, that definitely. I mean, okay. If we get this and we play, and I ever get to be the player, which we'll see. I'm for sure going to start with the fighter. Well, I guess I haven't seen the other classes, but I would assume the fighter is getting one of the best upgrades. We'll find out. All right, I want to watch one more. I want to check out some of the new feats, and then I think we might call it for the night. Yeah, Player's Handbook. Okay, cool. So this is the new feats.
So when you're making your character,
Oh, sorry, volume's low.
you'll first choose your class, the most important choice you make for your character, and then you will flesh out your character's origin. And so we like to think of it as, you might decide, I want to be a fighter, or I want to be a rogue, or a cleric, or a wizard. And then you think, well, how did I get there? What did I do before I was a member of that class? And what do I know about my character's childhood? And so it's when you start pondering those questions that you turn toward the character origins chapter. And you will essentially be going back in time in your character's backstory. So again, you start with your class, then you'll ponder, well, what was my character's background? And background is all about not only what you did prior to becoming an adventurer, but also where you did it. You know, were you a sailor?
Okay.
Were you a criminal? Were you an acolyte in a temple? Were you a sage? And then you keep going back in time in your character's origin to your birth. And that's when you then ponder your character's species. And your species choice and your background choice together combine to give you a number of critical game capabilities that will really help flesh out your character. Background has far more weight for your character now than it did in the 2014 rules. People in the Unearthed Arcana process got to see a preview of this, where in addition to giving you proficiencies, as backgrounds previously did, backgrounds also now all give you a feat at first level. They also determine ability score bonuses for you when you make your character. And these are ability score bonuses that really are rising up out of how your character spent their time.
I feel like people are just going to bullshit this, and that's fine. I think that's the way to do it. You just pick the background you want and then just ignore it and then say whatever. How many of us are forever DMs? I feel like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. The forever DMs are the one in a D&D live stream about the new books. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Good to see. Glad to have you. We need you. You guys are the heart of the game.
Prior to embarking on the wilds of adventure. And those two things in particular, the ability score adjustments that backgrounds bring, as well as the feat, mean your background will have an effect on your character for your entire career. And that was something that was not necessarily the case in 2014 backgrounds.
No, backgrounds were fake.
Except for perhaps the proficiencies you got.
Right.
You would still enjoy those throughout your career. But now there are more parts of your character that are forever affected by your character's background. Now, to support the use of feats at first level, we have now divided feats up into categories. Because we don't want a first level character to be plunged into the deep end of the feat pool. We want you.
I do hate that. That's the worst part about feats. Is like, okay, which feat do I want? It's like, well, read all of the feats. Read every single one and then decide. And hopefully they simplify it down.
To be able to sample feats and to have that sampling be curated so that the feat you get from your background is from a special selection of feats that are appropriate for a starting character. And so those feats are now in a category called origin feats, appropriately enough, because you get them as a part of your character origin. Now, even though they're in that category, later on, if you decide to go deeper into feats, you could potentially choose other origin feats for your character as well.
Brandon, thanks for stopping by, man. Take it easy. I appreciate you swinging by. Hopefully I'll see you again in another one of these. Have a good night.
But to start, each person gets just one origin feat that's provided by their background. In addition to the proficiencies your background is providing, as well as the ability score adjustments. Now, those ability score adjustments to me are really juicy because of the flexibility that we provide. And this is a flexibility that goes beyond anything that we previewed in Unearthed Arcana. So what we now do in each background is we provide 3 ability options. And then you as a player decide, am I going to put +2 in one of those 3, and you choose which of the 3, and then +1 in one of the other 2, or am I going to do +1 in all 3? So here's an example. The Acolyte, if you decided your character, whatever class you're a part of, spent their formative years serving in a temple in some capacity, you could choose Acolyte. And the Acolyte background tells you that the 3 abilities that you have the option to adjust are intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And you have total freedom in which of those you decide gets the +2, which one gets a +1, or if you maybe don't want to make that choice and just give +1 to all 3.
Right.
We did this because we want backgrounds to interlock with as many appropriate classes as possible. Previously, when we previewed this approach to backgrounds of them providing ability score adjustments, one of the downsides of the playtest version is it kind of hard-locked the backgrounds to specific classes.
Yeah.
And we did not want to proceed with that because in some ways that was recreating the exact problem that we were getting away from from 2014 species, because in 2014 these ability score adjustments existed inside the playable species.
What are they doing for species then? Are they doing? Well, I guess we'll find out. There's more videos, but okay. I do like that they're breaking it up. I think the backgrounds people are just gonna min-max it, as they should.
And one of the reasons we moved it out of there is we didn't like how that drove certain species to be combined with certain classes. We wanted people to feel more free to mix and match. And
I love a gnome barbarian. You gotta love a gnome barbarian. You don't get a gnome barbarian if you're I mean, well, you can still do it. But like, this seems like a good change to add more variety. More like it's easier to make sillier characters.
So here, rather than just recreate the same restriction, we now do have a little bit of a restriction, but you have tremendous amount of flexibility within it. I mean,
that makes sense, Death
you
Magic.
have 3 of the game's 6 abilities to play with, no matter which background you choose. And really, it's just which 3 changes from background to background. And we made sure that there was a broad range of character building options in the different backgrounds to support many different character builds. Like if I jump ahead in the chapter to the guide, for instance, the guide's 3 abilities are dexterity, constitution, and wisdom. That combo means the guide is actually a happy background for a number of different classes.
That's a good way to work around
because
this.
Everyone is happy to have constitution. Really, any background that has constitution as one of the 3 will work with pretty much any class. And this was something very much on our minds as we created these trios in each of the backgrounds to really make sure that the 16 backgrounds in this book provide a huge array of character building options. And now if someone wants to go beyond the 16 background options in the player's handbook, the new Dungeon Master's Guide provides guidance under the DM's supervision on creating additional backgrounds. But in the player's handbook itself, there are these 16 to choose from. There are a few backgrounds that shared the feats that they offer because we did not want to force people to choose a certain background
because that was optimal.
Right.
For certain feats. Now, there are a number of feats that are, only one background offers that feat. But there are a few, and Alert is a great example of them, where the feat is offered by
Dude, what did they do
more than one.
Why'd they do the lighting like this? This is also a thing that I'm sure will not matter to you guys, but I can't stop looking at it. It's like pulling my attention so much. Again, since I work in video and photography, seeing this like lighting of they're just doing like a hard light coming from the back, and then like obviously he's got a soft fill light coming so you can see the reflection in his glasses. But this is such a bizarre way to do an interview. Maybe it's because they're using this light that's hitting him to light the other guy and vice versa. But this is ridiculous.
One background.
Right. Skilled is similar.
No, because he's not lit up. I don't know. That's very bizarre.
As well.
Yes.
Yeah, it just seems so bizarre. Like, it's so easy to just do basic flat lighting if you want something simplistic. To do something like weird, like it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, good. Nader Todd, I'm glad we're on the same page on this. I mean, from what they used to be, they're moving away from locking things to species more and more. There's still stuff connected for now, though. Okay, that makes sense. So there's some stuff connected, but it's less and less. That makes sense.
Because the skilled feat is so open-ended. All of these combinations of options, the feats, the ability score adjustments, the proficiencies, also the starting equipment that the backgrounds provide, mean that each background is a package of very distinct options from the other backgrounds. Of course, you can dig deeper into feats if you decide to at higher levels. When everyone reaches 4th level, They get ability score increase, just as they did in the 2014 Player's Handbook. But ability score increase is now itself a feat. And just like in 2014, you have the option of taking that feat or selecting a different one. And because we now have given everyone a taste of feats at first level, we wanted to make sure that this book had more feats available, which is why there are 75 of them in this book, so that if you do decide to go into the fun customization world of feats, there's more there for you to play with, and the feats have all been enhanced, in some cases completely redesigned.
How many of you guys, when you get that level up, like level 4 or whatever, and it's like upgrade ability scores or take a feat, what are you taking? Because my lazy ass has unfortunately always, I know it's not optimal, but I'm always just taking the attribute score so I don't have to go look through all of the feats. Am I just on the very lazy side? I would assume I am, because I think they're so much better. But like whenever I get to that step, I'm like, this is the quickest way to level this character up, and then we're back in and we're playing.
And then there's the whole other half of your origin, your species.
Right.
Yeah,
and
okay.
we've
Good.
got a lot
Good to
of
know.
new things in the species. We've got new additions. So the orc has joined, Goliaths have joined, and
The Aasimar.
the Aasimar.
And
Okay.
those 3 brand new options, and
It's also weird to me in this video that they didn't like they're just using like the basic clip art they have for the things, but that they didn't take any of the specific shots, and like when they talked about the 3 new classes, that they didn't just put it, or the species, that they didn't just put it on the screen. Like we just have this vague repeating art. I mean, maybe they don't have the assets for it, but it seems like something they should do to like actually showcase. Honestly, I don't know anyone who takes the ability score improvements over the feats. Hell yeah, dude. Standing alone. You cowards. You want extra bonuses? No chance. I'm just trying to max all my stats. They are fun to build around. Those good increase your main attribute. Yeah, get to 20. I get to 20 for sure. Oh, hilarious. Yeah, Kale, you just don't get the opportunity. You got to get in some games, man. We got to figure out a way to get you in some games. If they show it to you, then you won't buy it. Won't want to buy it. Yeah. Oh, I see. That because they're putting it behind the paywall, like the different classes and stuff. It's a good point. It just makes for a far worse video, which is unfortunate. But maybe they don't care about that.
they join, of course, classic options like human, elf, halfling, gnome, the tiefling, the dragonborn are still with us as well. And every one of these species has been revisited, has been enhanced. A number of these enhancements people got to see in the Unearthed Arcana process, with like the dragonborn having an enhanced breath weapon, and then when they get to higher level, even gaining the ability to sprout wings and fly. And even humans and halflings have been revisited and in some of their traits redesigned.
The Dragonborn are super Dragonborn. The Goliaths are very Goliath, because now they're tied to giants.
What else would they be?
Not surprisingly, if you have the background being a cloud giant in your heritage, then you can kind of
Must consume.
Misty Step away, teleport away, because you're more of a trickster. But it's all based off like hill giant, storm, stone. All of it has different abilities that you can choose from.
And that is a part of the theme that we had with the species, which was to really lean into the fantasy of each one. This is why dwarves now have tremor sense
Which
that
is
they
amazing.
can use a certain number of times a day, where we, again, wanting to
that's
lean
cool.
harder into what is the resonant fantasy of each of these peoples. And part of that with dwarves, with their connection
Kale, you
to
call
the
that?
earth,
Yeah.
well, let's give them this really remarkable ability a certain number of times per day to sense things through the earth itself. Their dark vision has also gotten better. Dwarves and orcs both have dark vision out to 120 feet in the new Player's Handbook. Really driving
lighting in 5e, like dark vision and having torches. I feel like, and again, this could also just be my game, but I feel like a lot of the times there's always somebody who has dark vision. So then everybody just gets to know what's going on. So it feels like one of those things that's just like a fake mechanic. Like it's just so covered and taken care of.
Home that certain peoples have spent, at least their ancestors have spent more time underground than some of the other peoples. Humans, I mentioned, have been redesigned with the origin feats in the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think get rid of dark vision entirely. It doesn't make any sense. Like if it's to the point where it's so universal that it just breaks the game. Like it takes away that element of the game. Because you like the number of times I've forgotten as a DM where I'm like, yeah, I got this perfect thing. They're not going to know who's in the corners. It's going to be dark. And I'm like, you can't see down the path because it's too dark. And someone's like, I have dark vision, so I can see like perfectly for 120 feet. I'm like, oh, okay. No, that's really cool. No, yeah. You see everything that's set up before you. Like, yeah, I honestly, I should just homebrew it out of my game. I don't know what I'm doing. I should just take it away. Yeah, right. Because it is a massive hurdle because you're not going to be able to tell. You don't remember which players have what. That's too much information to hold on to.
Aim in mind because now
right, exactly.
If you
Hate
choose
it.
Human, you get to choose an additional origin feat for your characters. So you'll not only get the origin feat of your background, but also one of your choice. And humans now each day start off with heroic inspiration. And
That's right.
Also, people will see that because we want each species to really bring its own fantasy to life, they're very asymmetrical in how we have designed them. So some of them have choice points in them where, you mentioned the Goliath earlier, where you might be picking a type of giant that you're associated with, or, Dragonborn have their different breath weapon options. But then we have others like the halfling, the dwarf, the orc, where there aren't choice points like that because their fantasy didn't demand that in the design.
Sure.
But it's also because we did not want every single one to have the same complexity level. Just as our...
And you don't want every single one to just be the same thing. Like, I hate when they're like, everything's different, but it's just like the same cookie cutter thing. So I like that there's some get breath weapons and some don't. I think that's completely fine. I had a color-based puzzle in a dark dungeon and a party of nothing but races with dark vision, and they didn't realize that it was a color-based puzzle until they realized all the tiles were gray. Oh, hilarious. Hilarious. That's really good. Yeah, and Death Magic, I'm 100% with you. It's just like, if they want someone, which in their perfect world, like from a marketing perspective, they want someone to watch every single one of these videos and get hyped and order the stuff, right? Like someone who's on the fence or just like build the excitement, get them to tell their friends, send these videos out, and they just keep showing you the same thing over and over again. It's really taxing. It's so annoying. Yeah, I really wish they put a little more thought into doing these videos.
Classes and subclasses have different complexity levels. The species have different complexity levels as well.
So we talk a lot about meeting that fantasy, that wish fulfillment. Mechanically, that's done as well in action economy. The Goliath, being that it is now tied closer to giants, you can get big. Once you hit a certain level, you can go one size larger. But you can do this as a bonus action. You're not taking a full action to have that happen for you. You're just getting big and then possibly attacking and terrifying a group. Dragonborn is the same thing, and this was a change that we saw in a previous book, but you can now use your breath weapon. Not only does it get more powerful over time, but if you take the attack action, one of those attacks can be the breath weapon.
Absolutely.
So you're not sacrificing, if you're a fighter, a bunch of your attacks that could have been possibly more effective by using the breath weapon. You're just layering it on to what you can already do.
And another example of us really deepening the fantasy and giving people more options is in the Aasimar. where before you had to pick a single celestial revelation and that was true for your character forever, you now get to change that choice every time you use it, because we figured, well, an Aasimar who is descended from celestials sure might have some days where they're in the mood to shine with light, but they might also have some days where they're more on the vengeful end of the celestial spectrum. And
That'd be so annoying. Every day you're just shining with light. You're just trying to get a coffee at Starbucks and you're blinding people. That seems like the worst existence ever.
choose one of the other celestial revelation options.
So significant changes to species. We've got several more species to work with, and a lot of layered on abilities that kind of hit that, again, that wish fulfillment of like, this is what I want. I want to be a big character, a big Goliath. I can get big. Bonus action, I'm huge. Now I'm just going to pummel.
The character creation chapter in this book includes a sidebar that explains how to use backgrounds and species from older books. Because over the last decade, there have been several different approaches to where you get your ability score increase, do you get a feat or not. We have a rule in the character creation chapter on how to use backgrounds or species from other books that don't appear in this book. So any species or background that appears in this book that also appeared in an earlier book, the version in the New Player's Handbook is now the canonical version. But if there's, say, a species or background in an older book that is not in the New Player's Handbook and you would still like to use it, you can. And again, the character creation chapter provides guidance on how you can do that.
The New Player's Handbook is available for pre-order
right
now on D&D Beyond. You can
Background seems like a good split. Is it a huge revelation? I don't know. It just seems like they're just, again, a lot of the things they're doing are just reorganizing information, which might work out great. It might have a good impact, but not something I'm exactly amped for. Oh, that was so loud. Yeah, let's see. I think that's going to be where we stop for the night, but I do want to see what other ones, everything you need to know. So coming back, coming back. We're going to come in Fighter, Paladin, Barbarian. I think I'm going to be streaming on Monday if you guys want to come hang out. Same thing, it'll be late, and we'll just start going through these classes. We'll check out the Fighter, because this, I think, is really like the core of the change, right? They're just changing. The major change is changing just the classes. It does feel weird to do a new thing for this, but I don't know. Again, my conflicted feeling to loop this back into how we started this. Am I excited? Do we care? I don't know. I'm still in the middle. I still I don't know. It really comes down to if we can get other people, if I can get my group to care about this. Like if they are interested, then we'll swap over. I mean, question for you guys, has any of your groups talked about wanting to swap over to the 2024 or 5.5 when it's starting to come out? I mean, it might still be too early because it's not here yet, but my group hasn't talked about it at all. We haven't thought about it. We're just playing our campaign, and honestly, we're probably going to keep on going with this campaign and not change anything, and then afterwards we might revisit it. But right now, we haven't considered making any of these adjustments. Monday night's your D&D night. I'm sorry. Well, don't worry. Hopefully, my plan is to try and do it more consistently, so we'll be able to do it on, Wednesday. I think I'll do another one, or Friday. I'm gonna try and just burn through these so we can get caught up to whatever is the present day thing. So they just released Bard, and then that might be the last of the classes. And I heard they didn't put Artificer in this. Disgusting. Just absolutely gross. Yeah. Oh, so your group doesn't care either way. Yeah, no one was really into the idea. No one really cares. I think I'm lucky that my party will put up with me regardless of edition. Yeah. Well, that's good. So that it's good that you can just make the decision to change. I think most people else just don't really care. My group said they didn't think the 2020 version was interesting enough for the changes, so they wanted to try. Yeah, I remember you saying that, TOV. Half the players didn't know the new version was coming out. Yeah, there's so many people who have no clue that this is happening. And that makes sense, right? Like, it's underwhelming. And I want to be so excited for it because I love D&D. I would love something new to hold on to, but also I don't want it just a cash grab, and that's kind of what this feels like. And it feels like they've gotten to a point where they don't know how to evolve the game more and still hold on to like all of their revenue from the previous thing. So, I don't know. Mixed feelings. More to be revealed. Underwhelming, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think that's going to be it for tonight. Guys, I appreciate you. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. Like, I didn't think anybody was going to show up. A little nervous that I was like, I'm just going to be talking to myself. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate it. I'm going to try and stream more. So hopefully that's something you guys are interested in. That's it. That's all I got. Ooh, hit the mic. Knock you out for the last few minutes. Take it easy. Thanks, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.